Chapter 27-28. The Divine Judge's expression is extremely unsightly. Xie Wufeng summoned his origin divine sword, ready to fight at any time. The reason why he was injured before was mainly to protect the Divine Judge. The Divine Judge does not have the power of the heaven's divine punishment flag, so he is very weak. Xie Wufeng relied on his own strength to fight against the great Divine Lord and his group of powerful subordinates. Furthermore, he protected the Divine Judge and was injured because of this. If it wasn't for the Divine Judge, if he had risked his life, he might have been able to severely injure the great Divine Lord. Our Mystic Moon Alliance recognizes the Divine Judge. We have close cooperation with the Myriad Realms Divine Court. If you are enemies with the Myriad Realms Divine Court, then you are also enemies of our Mystic Moon Alliance. Yu Shangyun said. The Divine Court is very powerful and everything they are doing now is righteous. They are also maintaining the order of the Divine Desolate Land. God, when the Yu clan was in the 9 heavens, they were bullied by all kinds of evil powers and no power helped them. If now, in the Divine Desolate Land, there is an absolute righteous existence like the Myriad Realms Divine Court. Thus, her Divine Moon Clan will do their best to help them. Only with this, the Divine Desolate Land is not as dark as the 9 heavens. The Law Enforcement Realm King laughed loudly. Myriad Realms Divine Court, do you really think that you are righteous? Let me tell you, my Law Enforcement Realm represents the order of the Divine Desolate Land. The heavenly rules and Tao teachings in our hands are the laws that all living beings in the Divine Desolate Land should abide by. Law Enforcement Realm, how many times have I said that your era is over? This is the great era of the Divine Desolate Land. Don't always use those broken heavenly rules and Tao teachings to scare people. The person who spoke seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. He stood right next to the Holy Judge and even put his hand on the Holy Judge's shoulder. This person is a very young man. However, he is bald and has no hair at all. He is none other than Tian Daozi. You damn thing, how are you still alive? The Law Enforcement Realm King cursed angrily. What bullshit heavenly rules and Tao teachings. They have long been destroyed by Qin Yun. Tian Daozi shook his head and said with a smile, Qin Yun's existence proves that the heavenly rules and Tao teachings cannot restrict the entire Divine Desolate Land. All the big shots present unanimously agreed, because the power of the heavenly rules and Tao teachings was getting weaker and weaker. Many law enforcement great sovereigns had come from the law enforcement world. Tian Daozi's words made them very angry. Although the power of the heavenly rules orthodoxy was gradually weakening, the law enforcers had relied on the heavenly rules orthodoxy for many years to obtain large amounts of resources. Therefore, their law enforcers were still very strong. However, very few people had seen them fight, so they didn't know how strong they were. Big the Divine King didn't know who Tian Daozi was, but he still interrogated the Divine Judge. Divine Judge, quickly release your deity punishment flag. Let everyone see that you, the Inquisitor, are nothing but a fart. Your power has already been withdrawn by the 9 Yang celestial spirit. You're basically a Divine Judge now. You're completely a cripple. Shut up. Xie Wufeng was furious, and his sword momentum suddenly rose. The one-armed sword god in white was enraged at this moment. The sword aura on his body was like a torrential wave that surged forward. Just like that, just as everyone was shocked, Xie Wufeng appeared in front of the great Divine Lord with his destiny sword in hand. His entire body released a strong golden light, and the sword force followed the golden light on his body and surged in all directions. At the big shots who used swords couldn't help but be secretly shocked when they saw this terrifying sword aura. Xie Wufeng's divine sword pierced towards the great Divine Lord's forehead. The great Divine Lord roared as a sun mark appeared between his brows. It shot out a strong light and rushed towards Xie Wufeng's divine sword, blocking the incoming divine sword. Little Xie, come back quickly. You're still injured. the divine judge shouted anxiously. Just as he was about to rush over, he suddenly felt someone press down on his shoulder. Press the hand that held his shoulder had a power that made him feel very at ease. He didn't need to look to know that it was Qin Yun. Only Qin Yun could give him this kind of stable feeling. Qin Yun had already arrived. When he opened his heavenly eye, he could see that the wounds on Xie Wufeng's body were gradually tearing apart. This was because he had not fully recovered from his previous heavy injuries. Now that he was engaged in such an intense battle, it naturally caused his old injuries to relapse. The great Divine Lord had attacked the Divine Judge before. At that time, it was Xie Wufeng who had blocked the attacks of the great Divine Lord and a group of experts by himself and saved the Divine Judge. "Boss Xie, leave it to me." Qin Yun's voice sounded. "All right." When Xie Wufeng heard Qin Yun's calm voice, his figure flashed and transformed into a sword beam. He flashed to the side of the Divine Judge, but a trace of blood still flowed out from the corner of his mouth. When Xiang Yun and Luo Yaofeng saw Qin Yun appear, they could not help but worry. They were prepared to attack at any time. Yu Yaoyao was also holding a mirror in her hand. The 9 Sons Kuan Peng was inside. If Qin Yun was in danger, she would take action. Mad Yang Hu Di and the White Tiger royal family's elder, Bai Li Fei, were also prepared to attack. At Mu Jin, who was beside Yu Shangyun, had once wanted to kill Qin Yun. However, now that she saw Qin Yun facing the great Divine Lord and the law enforcement realm king alone, she was inexplicably worried about Qin Yun and had the thought of helping him. "Qin Yun, I still underestimated you." The great Divine Lord smiled complacently. "I thought you would hide inside the 4 Divine Sons and not come out." Yun also smiled and said, "You and I will have to settle this eventually. I wonder if it will be today." "You really have guts." The great Divine Lord took out a sword. When Yun saw his sword, he felt that it was somewhat funny. It was actually the Myriad Heaven's divine sword. In his eyes, this kind of sword was the kind that could be found on the street. "Are you going to do it yourself, or are you going to do it with your disciple? And that law enforcement realm king?" Qin Yun looked at the law enforcement realm king whose head was covered in runes. With a glance, it could be seen that the law enforcement realm king had a very powerful puppet body. The runes on his head were extremely terrifying. The Divine King laughed loudly. "To deal with you, I only need 1 hand. Besides, what's the big deal about bullying the few? After all, the entire God Desolate is watching." "Boss Qin, what cultivation level are you at now?" Tian Daozi suddenly asked. "My 4 Divine Dao Heavenly Pills have just evolved. I should be a 4-star Heavenly Lord, right?" Qin Yun replied. He was only a 4-star Heavenly Lord, yet he dared to challenge the experts who had surpassed the Heavenly Lord. This kind of courage was truly admirable. Lingdai Xian said in a low voice, "Is this guy hiding his strength? He possesses such terrifying divine power, how can he still be in the realm of Heavenly Lord? He is a person with 10 images and every breakthrough is extremely difficult. However, the increase in divine power obtained from every breakthrough is many times stronger than that of others. It cannot be judged by common sense." Great Elder Ling sighed with emotion. He might be the only person with 10 images left in the God Desolate. Ling Daixin and Ling Taiyun had heard of the legend of the 10 images. Only now did they remember that not only did Qin Yun possess 10 images, he had also grown up from 0. Chapter 27-29. Before Qin Yun met the Great Divine Lord, he really felt that the Great Divine Lord was a high and mighty existence. But now that he saw the Great Divine Lord's performance, he was very disappointed. This was because the Great Divine Lord did not have the demeanor of an expert. Not only was he arrogant, he was also very irritable. He did not look like an expert at all. Although Yun was standing in front of the Great Divine Lord, he was very wary of another person. In just now, he had noticed an old man wearing plain yellow clothes. This old man was standing beside the emperor of the Sun-Moon tribe, and he was quite far back. This old man was very inconspicuous, but Qin Yun felt that he was a very powerful person. He guessed that he was most likely Ling Taiyun and Ling Daixin's father, the emperor of the Extreme Sky tribe. The emperor of the Extreme Sky tribe did not reveal himself at all, as if he was aloof from worldly affairs. He was the emperor of the Extreme Sky tribe, but now he was like an inconspicuous follower. From beginning to end, he was very calm, like an expert following his master. He did not speak much and would not steal the limelight from others. This kind of person was often very terrifying. The pressure he gave Qin Yun was very great, far greater than that of the great Divine Lord and the Law Enforcement Realm King. I don't need to take out the Divine King Heavenly Seal. You are not worthy of me summoning the Divine King Heavenly Seal. Qin Yun retracted his attention and focused on the great Divine Lord. Although he retracted his attention, he was still affected by the unfathomable Emperor of the Extreme Sky tribe. That the Emperor of the Extreme Sky tribe brought him a lot of psychological pressure. If the Emperor of the Extreme Sky tribe suddenly attacked, he would have to be on guard. If you don't use the Divine King Heavenly Seal, then you're dead, the great Divine Lord said word by word. His voice was cold and filled with anger as he stabbed towards Qin Yun's head. The speed of the sword was as fast as lightning. The moment he attacked, everyone seemed to see a huge sword made of lightning piercing through Qin Yun's head. However, no one saw this scene. Instead, a shocking and unexpected scene appeared. Qin Yun put his hands together and a bang sound exploded out. He actually used his palms to clamp the heavenly sword that had pierced into his head. Not only that, the divine power released from his palms also carried a very strong vibration, causing the heavenly sword to let out a buzzing sound. Great Divine Lord's myriad heaven divine sword condensed a very powerful divine power. However, with Qin Yun's palms clamping together, the divine power was completely dispersed. What was shocking was that the great Divine Lord's hand that was holding the sword was shaken off. Big the Godly King was also very alarmed. He never expected Qin Yun to do something so unusual. After all, he was the great Divine Lord. After his hand was shaken away, he immediately switched hands to grab the sword hilt. I'll let you be arrogant. As the great Divine Lord drew his sword, he pushed his palm towards Qin Yun's abdomen. Qin Yun abruptly lifted her leg, and in an instant, a ferocious and terrifying wave of thunder and lightning burst forth. He raised his leg and swept it towards the great Divine Lord. A large amount of divine power surged out and turned into a ferocious wave of lightning. That this huge wave of thunder and lightning contained profound inscriptions, making it hard for people to tell if it was released through a divine technique or an inscription battle technique. The lightning rushed out like a collapsing dam, attacking towards the great Divine Lord's palm. The two of them were so close to each other that their attacks and kicks were extremely fast. After an instant of collision, chi waves surged up. Qin Yun's move just now was the Heavenly Annihilation 9 Styles Thunder Collapse. He had fused the Thunder Totem inscription battle technique, and its power had increased by a lot. It allowed him to use the cultivation of a 4-star Divine Heavenly Lord to shake the Great Divine Lord, who had surpassed the cultivation of a Divine Heavenly Lord. When the Great Divine Lord's palm collided with Qin Yun's thigh, he could feel that the other party's divine power was extremely terrifying. Qin Yun's thigh was in pain from the beating and the great Divine Lord's palm was in intense pain from the violent thunder and lightning divine power. Qin Yun had no choice but to let go of the great Divine Lord's heavenly sword. After the great Divine Lord drew his sword, he quickly distanced himself from Qin Yun. He did not want to clash head-on with Qin Yun at such a close distance. He was worried that he would suffer a great loss. Qin Yun was not afraid. He had just probed that his body was slightly stronger than the great Divine Lord's. The great Divine Lord was very clear that his body was far inferior to Qin Yun's. This made him very angry. He was a dignified great Divine Lord. When he sparred with the little Divine King, he used his own weapon, but he did not gain the upper hand. Instead, he was beaten back by the other party. From the collision just now, the surrounding experts could more or less see the strength of the little Divine King. The great Divine Lord's divine power seemed to be much stronger than Qin Yun's, but the great Divine Lord's cultivation was much higher than Qin Yun's after all. Furthermore, even though his divine power was strong, it was unable to shake Qin Yun's powerful body. Qin Yun's divine power was not as strong as the great Divine Lord's and was even weaker by quite a bit. However, his divine power was enough to injure the great Divine Lord's body. Beside the heavenly dragon emperor, Long Shu's beautiful eyes were filled with pleasant surprise. She knew that the reason why Qin Yun's body was so strong was because of the tempering of the heavenly fate dragon lake's water. He, the heavenly dragon race, had also tempered their bodies in the heavenly fate dragon lake, but they were unable to reach Qin Yun's level. Qin Yun, a human, had accidentally used the heavenly fate dragon lake to strengthen his body and cultivated the super heaven divine body. This was a body realm that many experts were pursuing. His body is at the level of the super heaven divine body, but his cultivation is far from being able to keep up with his body. Someone suddenly said. It was an old man from the Sun In divine race. It has not been long since Qin Yun drank the lake water beside the heavenly fate dragon lake and tricked the Sun In divine race people into drinking the little monsters in the lake. That after the old man mentioned this matter, many people immediately thought of this matter. Qin after Yun drank the heavenly fate dragon lake's water, not only did he not give birth to any little monsters, he even cultivated the super heaven divine body. This caused many experienced and knowledgeable experts to be puzzled. Even the heavenly dragon emperor exclaimed, "How did this guy do it? Super heaven divine body? It was cultivated by the divine king heavenly seal. The 9 Suns Law Spirit saw that you were so weak and your cultivation increased slowly, so it helped you cultivate the super heaven divine body." The great divine king said unhappily. Qin Yun said with a sneer, "Is that so? Why didn't the 9 Suns Law Spirit help you?" The great divine king tightly gripped the sword in his hand. He had already used his weapon to attack, but Qin Yun had yet to take out his weapon. This made him very unhappy. He thought that Qin Yun was doing this on purpose to mock him. "Quickly take out your weapon. Otherwise, people will say that I'm bullying you when you're unarmed." The great divine king shouted, "If you fight me with your bare hands, even if I defeat you, it will be an unfair victory. Furthermore, I can't do anything to an unarmed person." Qin Yun chuckled. Yun chuckled and said, "You won't use any weapons. We'll fight barehanded. Isn't that better?" Although the great divine king was arrogant and conceited, he wasn't stupid at all. He wouldn't do such a stupid thing. "Qin Yun, you are a despicable and shameless person. If I agree to fight you barehanded, if you suddenly take out a weapon during the battle, wouldn't I suffer a great loss?" The great divine lord said coldly. He was certain that Qin Yun did not have a better divine weapon than the myriad heaven divine sword in his hands. Chapter 27:30. Qin Yun could see through the great divine lord's thoughts with a glance. He only felt that the great divine lord was a little naive. When fighting against an important opponent, he actually didn't understand his opponent in advance and dared to be so arrogant. One had to know that Qin Yun did not know much about the great divine lord, so he appeared to be more cautious. Even though his body was stronger than his opponent's, he did not underestimate his opponent. "I won't use a weapon for the time being. Ever since I became a divine lord, I haven't had a good fight. The main reason is because I haven't met a decent opponent." Qin Yun said with a smile, "And you are a pretty good opponent. Fighting with you will allow me to clearly see my own level, Qin Yun was very serious, but in the eyes of the great Divine Lord and the others, this was equivalent to provocation. From his words, it could be seen that Qin Yun wanted to treat the great Divine Lord as a sparring partner. A dignified great Divine Lord was actually being treated as a sparring partner. Qin Yun's words were extremely ear-piercing to the great Divine Lord. He immediately flew into a rage and no longer spoke. He brandished his sword and attacked fiercely. Shwa! With a few swishes, the sword wind swept away the surrounding divine sunlight mist. The intense light mist released by the 4 divine suns seemed to be swept up by the divine swords of the heavens, condensing into swords of light. They stabbed at Qin Yun from all directions. Many of the experts watching the battle from afar had no choice but to release their divine power and condense it into a powerful shield to protect themselves and the juniors around them. As for the place where Qin Yun and the great Divine Lord were fighting, it was already enveloped by all sorts of berserk divine power waves. Intense light shot out in all directions, making it impossible to see what was happening inside. Only he knew that the great Divine Lord was the first to attack. That ferocious and furious sword aura was extremely terrifying, and it even carried the divine power of several myriad realms' divine suns. Great divine kings could also borrow the divine power of the myriad realms' divine sun. Even the powerhouses of the 9 suns' sacred land rarely saw the great Divine Lord fight in such a furious manner. The distance between Yun and the great Divine Lord was not far. The great Divine Lord's sudden explosive attack quickly landed on his body. Qin Yun was already prepared. The heavenly lion Tao image in his body moved and roared within the sacred tribulation gate. The heavenly lion totem heavenly rune immediately appeared on his body. His body suddenly swelled up and many golden hairs appeared under his skin. Upon closer inspection, those hairs were all inscriptions. It looked as if his body was suddenly covered by the golden heavenly lion fur. Heavenly lion protection. Let's see how strong the heavenly lion totem heavenly rune is. This is the first time Qin Yun is using the heavenly lion totem heavenly rune. This kind of heavenly pattern originated from his Tao idol, so it was very easy for him to release it now. Tian Lion Totem Heavenly Rune is not a defensive type rune, but Qin Yun thinks that he can give it a try. Bith divine power condensed into astral swords and stabbed at Qin Yun's body from all directions. Qin Yun couldn't escape at all. She was constantly being attacked crazily. But at this moment, he only felt as if his body was being attacked by a gale. He didn't feel any pain. Tian the lion's protective body combined with his transcendent god body was actually able to block Great Divine Lord's angry attack. The heavenly lion totem heavenly pattern is truly powerful. This kind of rune is not used for defense, but its defensive power is very strong. Qin Yun tested it and felt extremely satisfied. Tian Lion Totem Heavenly Rune should be used to attack. Qin Yun inhaled a mouthful of air and began using another kind of power to free himself. He activated the power of the Nether Sun and then distorted the surrounding space, causing all the astral swords that were attacking him to be distorted by the space and fly in all directions. In the big shots watching the battle cursed in their hearts. They could only strengthen their defense to prevent themselves from being swept by the Great Divine Lord's astral swords. Great Divine Lord also sensed that Qin Yun was not defeated. Qin after Yun distorted space. If the divine power attacking him was not strong enough and was unable to break through his spatial barrier, it would be difficult for it to touch his body. After the Great Divine Lord knew that his attack was ineffective, he immediately stopped. Just the moment he stopped, Qin Yun suddenly launched a berserk attack. Stepping on the air, he charged towards the Great Divine Lord. A moment ago, he could still be seen charging towards the Great Divine Lord. In the next moment, he was already behind the Great Divine Lord. Great Divine Lord never expected Qin Yun to be so unafraid of death. He actually charged over with his bare hand. He quickly turned around and slashed horizontally with his sword. The sweeping sword wind turned into a sharp blade of light. If he was hit, even the transcendent divine body would not be able to withstand it. Qin Yun let out a loud roar at the countless light blades that were slashing at him. That terrifying roar caused many of the big shots of the Nine-Sun Sacred Land to look at the Nine-Sun Heavenly Lion race, because what Qin Yun used was the Heavenly Lion's roar. Furthermore, it was incomparably authentic. It was even more terrifying than the roars of those heavenly lions. Furthermore, it was as if the heavenly tribulation was roaring, bringing with it a fierce and violent might. The sound wave fluctuated intensely, shattering all the light blades that the great divine lord had slashed out. Qin Yun sneered and released the supergravity domain, enveloping the great divine lord. Great! The god king felt as if his body had suddenly lost gravity. He felt as light as a feather, as if a gust of wind could blow him away. He knew that this was a type of gravity, and he also knew that it was released by the Nether Sun. It's useless for you to use the power of the Nether Sun to deal with me. The great divine lord laughed maniacally. Suddenly, a strong blue light flashed from his heart. It's the heavenly universe divine sun. Qin Yun was alarmed. The great divine lord's heart was actually a heavenly universe divine Sunday. The heavenly universe divine sun was very powerful, but now, it had been shrunk and refined into the heart of the great divine lord. How terrifying would that be? Xiao Yun, a lot of divine power has been sealed in his heavenly universe divine sun's heart. Ling Yuner said, with his current body, it's impossible for him to support the divine power of the heavenly universe divine sun, so more than half of it has been sealed. When everyone saw this, they were all astonished. Was this the most powerful aspect of the great divine lord? The heart was actually a heavenly universe divine sun that had been suppressed. After the great divine lord mobilized the divine power of the heavenly universe divine sun, his body shook and shook off the gravity that enveloped his body. Although the great divine lord was an old man, from the looks of it, he was filled with exuberant energy. His body contained an extremely terrifying heavenly universe divine sun power. His eyes shot out two beams of blue light that shot towards Qin Yun's body. Qin Yun dodged, but as long as the great divine lord stared at him, the two beams of light would be able to move quickly. No matter how fast he was not faster than the great divine lord's eyes. Therefore, he could only use the nether sun to release a spatial barrier, twisting the two blue beams of light and sweeping past his body. Qin Yun, let me tell you, the center of the Nine-Sun Sacred Land is a super-huge nether sun. I have already mastered all kinds of methods to resist the nether sun. The great divine lord laughed arrogantly. Your strongest should be the nether sun, right? This is already destined to be restrained by me. Admit defeat. Chapter 27:31. The great divine lord had the qualifications to be arrogant. Just by relying on the fact that there was a heavenly universe divine sun sealed in his heart, it was enough to make the big shots of the other strong races present fear him. You will definitely lose to me today. The myriad heavens divine sword in great divine lord's hand was also shining with a blue light. Who? The great divine lord took a step forward and the entire space started to fluctuate. The divine power of the heavenly universe divine sun in his body directly fluctuated the surrounding space. Qin Yun's spatial barrier was instantly torn apart. Die! The godly monarch distorted space and appeared in front of Qin Yun, stabbing with his sword. At that moment, Qin Yun had no choice but to take out his weapon. A square pillar appeared in his hand to block the great divine king's ferocious stab. The myriad heaven divine sword let out a crisp sword cry and sent Qin Yun and the four pillars flying. Qin Yun took out the nine-sun sky-raising pagoda and transformed it into a four-sided pillar in front of her. Even though he managed to block the sword, he was still sent flying by the sword wind. The divine power in the great divine king's body was still constantly increasing. He seemed to be in a hurry. When the sword strike failed to hit Qin Yun, he anxiously chased after him. The 9 suns heaven-raising pagoda turned into a floating cloud staff in Qin Yun's hand. Qin Wen Yun saw the great divine lord coming over. He immediately channeled his imperial god power into the floating cloud rod. At the same time the great divine lord thrusted his sword. He smashed his rod with all his might. When he struck out with the rod, he even released a very strong supergravity that enveloped Great Divine Lord's body, but it was immediately blasted away. Great Divine Lord swung his sword at the rod that was smashing down. Boom! The staff and the sword collided, and the waves of air formed by the divine power surged and whistled. The Great Divine Lord bellowed as he brandished his sword and slashed at Qin Yun fiercely. Every slash contained divine power that tore through space. This black spatial cracks suddenly appeared in the area of intense light, causing a large amount of light mist to surge into the spatial cracks. Those spatial cracks were enormous, and they were all tens of thousands of meters long and hundreds of meters wide. They were like ravines in the void, and they were crazily devouring divine power. Tian Yu Xin Yang's divine power was actually this terrifying. You, the Great Divine Lord said in a deep voice. The myriad heaven divine sword in the Great Divine Lord's hand is also not an ordinary divine sword. That's why it can unleash such a terrifying divine power. Qin Yun isn't weak either. He hasn't been injured at all. Furthermore, he hasn't even used his full strength. The All Heavens Dragon Emperor said. Qin Yun can't use his full strength. Even if he did, he wouldn't be able to defeat the Great Divine King. 9 Young Tiger Emperor said. Why? Asked the All Heavens Dragon Emperor. How could the Great Divine Lord lose? Besides, the difference in cultivation between Qin Yun and the Great Divine King is too great. The 9 Young Tiger Emperor said, We have never seen the Great Divine Lord use his Sky Universe Divine Sun in the 9 Sun Sacred Ground. Tian Clan Emperor said, Master also did not use his full strength. Don't be fooled by his arrogance, he's still holding back. The Yu Clan Monarch frowned, Is that so? Didn't he want to kill Qin Yun? Why didn't you use your strongest attack to take him down? He was afraid that even if he used his strongest divine power, he would not be able to take down Qin Yun. This is outside of the 4 divine suns. If he runs inside and hides, no one can do anything to him. Sun En Tribe Emperor said, If Master is unable to defeat Qin Yun and reveals all his trump cards, it will be a great loss. The All Heavens Dragon Emperor said with a smile, It looks like the young godly monarchs aren't fighting seriously. They haven't even released their Divine King Heavenly Seal yet. Many people had seen Yun's Divine King Heavenly Seal before. It was a statue that looked exactly like him. As for the Great Divine Lord's Divine King Heavenly Seal, no one had ever seen it before. Uneven Qin Yun is very curious about the Great Divine Lord's Heavenly Seal. Qin Yun also knew that although the Great Divine Lord looked reckless and arrogant, he did not release the Divine King Heavenly Seal for a long time. This meant that he did not release it on purpose. You can't use the Sky Universe Divine Sun's divine power for too long, that's why you're in such a hurry to attack me. Qin Yun said as he dodged the Great Divine Lord's berserk attack. Ever since the Great Divine Lord used the Sky Universe Divine Sun's divine power, it was as if he had gone crazy. He attacked anxiously, as if he was in a hurry. So what? I will defeat you. The Great Divine Lord held the sword with both hands and crazily used the Sky Universe Divine Sun's divine power through the Heavenly Divine Sword in his hand. Qin Yun used all his strength to block. At this moment, the divine power that the Great Divine Lord shot out through the divine sword transformed into waves of sword rain. The ripples distorted space and directly enveloped the area where Qin Yun was. This was a large area of effect attack, and it could be said that a lot of divine power was wasted. However, the Great Divine Lord did not care. It was as if his divine power was inexhaustible as he crazily released it. Qin Yun had no choice but to take out the Imperial Life Talisman to relieve his pressure. He also knew that it was impossible for him to defeat the great Divine Lord, but he was unwilling to let it end like this. "Are you going to use the Divine King Heavenly Seal?" When the Heavenly Dragon Emperor saw that Qin Yun was being suppressed, he immediately looked over with wide eyes. "Whoever uses the Divine King Heavenly Seal first will lose." The great Heaven Clan Emperor said, "The current thoughts of the great and small Divine Kings are to force out the other party's Divine King Heavenly Seal." The great Clan Emperor said, "I understand. When the great and small Divine Kings fight, whoever's Heavenly Seal is the first to light up might be devoured by the other party." They all wanted to obtain the other party's Divine King Heavenly Seal. Great although the little Divine King Heavenly Seal was different in size, their strength was on par. If one obtained the great and small Divine King Heavenly Seal, one could imagine the strength of the person who obtained it. Qin Yun put away the floating cloud rod and took out the myriad Heaven Divine Saber. His eyes suddenly turned red, and black evil aura gushed out from his head. It is as if he has long red and black hair. Also at this moment, a wave of evil aura filled with ruthless evil aura surged out from Qin Yun's body. Qin Yun entered the extreme evil devil state. This is also his strongest state. "This guy turned into an evil devil?" the Heavenly Dragon Emperor said in shock. In short, this is how he defeated the Heavenly Venerables. The Law Enforcer said, "He will not be controlled by the evil devil. After entering this state, he can still maintain his rationality. He can completely control the extreme evil devil divine power." The extreme evil devil divine power is very strong, but it is very difficult to control. So many living beings who cultivate the evil devil Tao will eventually be controlled by the evil devil and gradually fall into the evil devil Tao, turning into a deranged evil devil. Qin after Yun entered the extreme evil devil state. He mobilized all the divine power in his body and the space around him began to distort. "Even if I can't beat him, I will still display my strength." Qin Yun knows that he lost in terms of cultivation, but he is unwilling to let it end like this. He gripping the myriad Heaven Divine Saber tightly, he charged at the great Divine Lord. After being suppressed by the great Divine Lord for a while, Qin Yun finally launched a counterattack. "Come!" The great Divine Lord laughed maniacally. Qin Yun instantly flashed and hacked at the great Divine Lord. In that instant it was as if the sky was about to shatter. The great Divine Lord's expression suddenly turned serious as he quickly brandished his sword to block the myriad Heaven Divine Saber. Blade when the swords collided, there was no sound because the sound wave was completely devoured by the distorted space. There should have been a strong ripple, but it was devoured by the space torn apart by the collision of the swords and sabers. Chapter 2732. Qin Yun and the Great Divine Lord both fell into the chaotic space and disappeared in an instant. They were tossed about in the spatial turbulence and disappeared without a trace. If most of the weaker people would not be able to come out after falling into the chaotic space. But to these two divine kings, this was not a problem at all. It was equivalent to falling into a whirlpool and quickly escaping. Just the battle just now did not determine the victor. Some people thought that Qin Yun was stronger because his cultivation was lower. Similarly, there were people who believed that the Great Divine Lord was stronger than Qin Yun. This was because the Great Divine Lord had the Heavenly Universe Divine Sun Heart. The divine power of the Divine Sun Heart had yet to be fully unleashed. Overall there were many different opinions and even more people thought that it was a draw. The torn space gradually recovered. Great Divine Lord and Qin Yun did not appear again. It would take some time for them to come out of the chaotic space. And when they came out, they would be very far away and would not be able to return here so quickly. Who do you think is stronger? The Heaven's Dragon Emperor laughed. I really didn't expect that Qin Yun would have this kind of divine power even though he is just a Shin Tian Lord. If this guy surpasses Shin Tian Lord's level, even if we join hands, it would be very difficult to take him down. Yin Clan Emperor said, "My master is definitely stronger. After all, he is the great divine lord. Furthermore, his heavenly universe divine sun heart is sealed, so he can only use a small portion of his divine power. When he succeeds in his cultivation and is able to completely use the divine power of the heavenly universe divine sun heart, no one will be his match." Qin Yun is a person with 10 images. His potential is very great. Furthermore, with his current cultivation, he can shake the great divine lord. If he has the same cultivation as the great divine lord, then it would be hard to say. Long Shu said, she was more optimistic about Qin Yun. My master not only has the heavenly universe divine sun heart, his divine king heavenly seal is also very powerful. It is definitely stronger than Qin Yun's heavenly seal. Sun Yin Clan Emperor said, "Let's not talk about the future, just now, it seems like Qin Yun had the upper hand. After all, with his cultivation, it can be said that Qin Yun is slightly stronger." Nine Sun Heavenly Lion Race Emperor said, "Why is it that Qin Yun has the upper hand? Didn't you see that Qin Yun was forced to risk his life? Even if my master fell into the chaotic space, Qin Yun would be severely injured." The Sun Moon Tribe Emperor sneered. "Is that so? In the exchange just now, I saw that the great divine lord seemed to be panicking a bit, but Qin Yun was even more calm. This means that at the moment of the exchange, there is a difference in strength between the two of them." Nine Sun Heavenly Lion Race Emperor said with smile, "I believe everyone saw it right?" The Sun Moon Tribe Arch was not convinced and sneered. "Old Lion, Qin Yun has occupied the entire 4 divine suns and is not letting us in. Why are you still speaking up for him?" Qin Yun participated in the creation of the 4 god suns. Originally, he also shared the 4 god suns. But because some people wanted to monopolize the 4 god suns, he took it back. Nine Sun Heavenly Lion Emperor said with mischievous laughter. The Heavenly Lion race already had a piece of territory in the 4 god suns, so the Heavenly Lion race from the 9 Sun sacred ground could naturally join and enjoy it. However, because Great Divine Lord and the other big shots forcefully entered the 4 divine suns and said that they wanted to control the 4 divine suns, Qin Yun was forced to withdraw. Old Lion, don't stand on the wrong side. From the comparison just now, it is clear that my master is stronger, but you still plan to stand on Qin Yun's side. You will regret it." The Sun Moon Tribe Arch said with a sneer, "I have to say, although you lions have big eyes, all of you are short-sighted. Just now, although the outcome of the battle between the divine kings was not obvious, it displayed the strength of both sides. In the future, the divine desolate would definitely divide the factions according to the divine kings. Now was the time to choose a side. Wan the World God Court and the Divine Moon Clan both stood on Qin Yun's side. This was already confirmed before. If today, after the fight between the divine kings, those strong races and great powers were all at a loss, if Qin Yun lost miserably, they would definitely stand on the great divine lord's side. But yet, Qin Yun, with Shin Tian monarch's cultivation, was evenly matched with the great divine lord. This made them feel very conflicted. It was definitely impossible to stand on Qin Yun's side. After all, they had already expressed their goodwill to the great divine lord. However, if they joined the great divine lord's camp, then when Qin Yun grew up, they would have to face Qin Yun's revenge. Right, they had heard of the many ruthless things that Qin Yun had done. If Qin Yun wanted to take revenge on his enemies, he would not be lenient at all. Furthermore, he mainly used sneak attacks. Our law enforcement realm will definitely support the great divine lord, the law enforcement realm king said. He only decided after discussing with the Heaven Secrets sect leader. The emperor of the Yin clan looked at the Heaven's Dragon Emperor and the others. My heaven's dragon race. How should I say it? Qin Yun's relationship with us is not bad. The heaven's dragon emperor said, Our dragon peach divine tree is very important. It was Qin Yun who helped us pick it up. Oh right, who cut down the dragon peach divine tree? Heaven opening ancient clan. Monkey King looked at the Yu ancient clan. We did not participate, don't look at us. The Yu ancient clan emperor immediately said. Tu the emperor of the Yin clan was somewhat unhappy, but he did not dare to show it. After all, the Heaven's Dragon Emperor was still very strong. He only asked, Then your dragon race wants to support Qin Yun? I did not say that I supported Qin Yun. The Heaven's Dragon Emperor was wearing a golden dragon armor and a dragon crown. He had a dignified middle-aged face. But at this moment, his originally stern face was full of smiles as he said, I say, what is wrong with you all? Do you really want us to support one side? We are not the great divine lord's underlings, we are all free, we do not support anyone, is that not okay? Previously in the Four Divine Sons, the Heaven's Dragon Emperor was somewhat unhappy that Qin Yun dominated the entire Four Divine Sons. But now that he saw that Qin Yun was not weak and was comparable to the great divine lord, he could only accept it. It was Qin Yun who wanted to mess with their dragon race, and he did it secretly. In the end, they would definitely be the ones to suffer. Yu the ancient clan emperor said, That's right, we do not support anyone. If it is beneficial to us, we will cooperate with that person. We only care about benefits. The fight between the great and great divine kings is your business, it has nothing to do with us, no one can tie us down. The Sun Moon Emperor's face changed. He also just remembered that these big shots of the powerful clans wanted to snatch the great divine king heavenly seal. How could they be forced to take sides? For the major forces, allies and whatnot were all fleeting clouds. Only benefits mattered. Yu the ancient clan emperor's words were very clear, they did not stand on either side, and if there were benefits, they would cooperate with both sides at the same time. 9 The young Sky Lion Emperor laughed. The Heaven's Divine Desolate is a great era, properly develop and explore new realms is the right way, why fight to the death? Even if you are so bored that your balls hurt and want to fight to the death, don't drag us in. Qin Yun must have been seriously injured just now, why are you so afraid of him? The law enforcement realm king sneered. Just at this moment, a fragment suddenly floated over and was caught by the Heaven's Dragon Emperor. Chapter 27:33. Everyone immediately focused their gazes on the half-broken sword in the divine desolate of the heavens. They could all recognize that this was the divine sword of the heavens that the great divine lord had used before. However, it had been cut in half, but the inscriptions on the broken sword were still there. The great divine lord's myriad heaven divine sword was actually broken. It was the broken half of the sword tip. It was unknown where the sword hilt had gone, but it was extremely likely that it was still in the hands of the great divine lord. Everyone's faces were filled with shock, finding it hard to believe that this was true. The big shots present all believed that Qin Yun and the great divine lord's strength were on par. But now, the great divine lord's myriad heaven divine sword had been broken. This meant that Qin Yun's strength was most likely much stronger than the great divine lord's. The faces of the Sun Moon Tribe Emperor and the Law Enforcement Realm King turned ugly, because they were certain that Qin Yun's strength was far inferior to the great divine lord's. But now that he saw the great divine king's broken sword floating over, he was instantly speechless. No matter what, the great divine lord's myriad heaven divine sword was broken by someone. Just based on this, it meant that the great divine lord had lost. The great divine lord's cultivation level was so high that when facing the 4-star heavenly lord Qin Yun, he could not even protect his powerful myriad heaven divine sword. Even if Qin Yun was severely injured by the great divine lord just now, it meant that he had strength equivalent to the great divine lord. As expected of the Heaven's God Sword, the material used is really good. The Yu Clan Emperor was at the side. He reached out his hand to touch the sword, confirming that it was indeed the Heaven's God sword. Tiandozi laughed out loud. The great divine lord's myriad heaven divine sword is actually broken. This guy is a sword user, and he can't even do it with his sword. How embarrassing! What do you know? Shut up. The law enforcement world king angrily said. For better or worse, you are still a big boss of the law enforcement world. Look at yourself, it's like your father lost. Heavenly Dao Zi crazily provoked the world king of law enforcement. In the exchange between the great divine lord and Qin Yun, it was obvious who was stronger and who was weaker from this broken sword. No matter what, after the battle this time, the great divine lord would definitely be pointed at by people. Qin Yun was sent into the chaotic space. The divine desolate's chaotic space is still very strong. Fortunately, he has the little ant queen. In the pitch-black space that was filled with all kinds of tyrannical and violent flows, his body was also in great pain. After Little Ant Queen came out, she immediately released her spatial divine power to protect Qin Yun from the impact of the spatial turbulence. Qin Yun felt a lot more comfortable now. He channeled the power of the White Divine Sun within the Nine Yang Divine Spirit and channeled it into his body. His injuries from the previous exchange were not light. As for how the great Divine Lord was, he did not know. At that time, he had gathered all of his strength to destroy Great Divine Lord's sword and arm. He successfully did it, but the Great Divine Lord's powerful divine power also heavily injured him. Even his transcendent divine body was almost torn apart. This guy is truly terrifying. Fortunately, he restrained himself at the last moment and did not completely release the divine power of the heavenly universe divine sun heart. Qin Yun felt a lingering fear when he thought about it. If the great divine lord really didn't care about his life, he might even perish together with him. The great divine king's myriad heaven divine sword and one of his arms had been destroyed by Qin Yun. He was also heavily injured. And now, everyone only knew that the great divine lord's myriad heaven divine sword had been broken. They did not know that the great divine lord's arm had been destroyed by Qin Yun. Qin Yun looked at the broken arm in his hand. It was a small part of the great divine lord's broken arm. There was a tattered hand that was tightly gripping the sword hilt. Although it was broken, the palm was still very powerful. It could be seen that the great divine lord's body was also very strong and his bones were very sturdy. This guy still underestimated my strength. Qin Yun shook his head and smiled. At this moment, he had already been brought out of the chaotic space by Little Ant Queen and returned to the divine desolate space. Not only did Qin Yun enter an extremely powerful and evil devil state, he also activated the divine power of the few divine suns within the Nine Yang divine spirit. It was the divine power of those few divine suns that allowed Qin Yun to unleash such a powerful might, causing the great divine lord to misjudge his strength. The reason why Qin Yun's body was almost torn apart by the great divine lord was mainly because he had been attacked by the divine power of those few divine suns. This was the first time he had used such a large amount of strength to activate the Nine Yang divine spirit. The divine power of the divine suns gathered together was simply too terrifying. Even the super heaven divine body felt a tearing pain because of this. Qin Yun arrived at the divine desolate land and looked at the 5 myriad realms divine suns in the sky. He heaved a long sigh. He took out the 9 suns heaven-raising pagoda and entered it to rest and heal his injuries. Then, he took out the magic mirror and looked at the various news that was spreading. The news of the broken sword of the myriad heaven divine sword falling into the hands of the heavenly dragon emperor quickly spread. Originally, there were many people who believed that the great divine lord was slightly stronger than Qin Yun. However, after seeing the broken sword, more and more people believed that Qin Yun was stronger than the great divine lord. The great divine lord's dignity was greatly affected because of this. The great divine lord was actually no match for the little divine king. Not long after, the people from the divine king palace posted a long article on the magic mirror platform. The main point was that the great divine lord had achieved complete victory in this battle. They said that even though the great divine lord had broken a sword, Qin Yun was still severely injured. His super heaven divine body was almost torn apart by the great divine lord on the spot. He even said that Qin Yun would not be able to recover without 10 years of time. The great divine lord really thought so. When he was fighting with Qin Yun, it was not only a clash of blows. His own heavenly universe divine sun heart had also released a wave of divine power that attacked Qin Yun's body. He could feel that Qin Yun's body was almost torn apart by his divine power. With such a powerful body like the super heaven divine body, if he were to suffer such a heavy injury, he would definitely not be able to recover in 8 to 10 years. Qin Yun received many messages from his friends, asking about his current situation. He replied in unison, saying that he was injured but the problem wasn't too big. If it was anyone else, it would definitely be difficult for them to recover in a short period of time. However, he was different. He had the white divine sun, so he did not need 8 to 10 years of time. Qin Yun contacted the divine judge and Yu Shangyun. After chatting with them, he found out that they had successfully entered the 4 divine Sunday. When Yu Shangyun found out that Qin Yun was fine, she immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Furthermore, she contacted Bai Suxin and told her to find Qin Yun and help him heal his injuries. Bai Suxin's white divine sun power is very strong. Especially after Bai Suxin entered the moon heart to cultivate and her cultivation surpassed Shen Tianjun, it became even more powerful. Bai Suxin has Qin Yun's soul-chasing talisman in her hands. She contacted Qin Yun through the magic mirror and asked, "Xiao Yun, I'll go find you right now." "Alright, I've also finished the white divine sun's sun seed." "Alright, I'll wait for you." Qin Yun promised the mad sun tiger emperor that he would give him the sun seed. At night, the heavenly divine moon shot down a beam of light towards the ground. It was extremely fast and disappeared in a flash. Bai Suxin rode this beam of light and landed on the desolate mountain where Qin Yun is. After she arrived, she took out the soul-chasing talisman and quickly saw Qin Yun's 9-sun heaven-raising pagoda. When Bai Suxin arrived outside the 9-sun heaven-raising pagoda, Qin Yun immediately welcomed her in. Chapter 27:34. When Qin Yun saw the white-haired beauty's face filled with worry, he said with a smile, "I could have cured it myself, but Sister Shangyun wanted to send you, so I waited for you to come and let you treat it for me. You're so heavily injured and you're still saying such witty words," Bai Suxin said in a light tone of displeasure. Then, she pressed her hand on Qin Yun's chest and injected her divine power into it. Qin Yun's current condition is not very good. It has been a long time since he suffered such a heavy injury. Even with Bai Shenyang's divine power, he would need at least half a year to recover. He did not know how effective Bai Suxin's treatment would be. He did not want to wait for more than half a year. He could only hope for a good result. In the great era of the Divine Desolate, after more than half a year, it was extremely likely that a tremendous change would occur. "Look at you, you're already so weak. Quickly lie down." Bai Suxin picked Qin Yun up and brought him to a bed. She let Qin Yun's head rest on her slender and beautiful legs, and then pressed her palms on Qin Yun's heart. "Can you get better faster like this?" Qin Yun asked. "It will take at least 2 to 3 months. Bai Suxin sighed faintly. "Seriously, why are you trying to be brave? With your current cultivation, no one will laugh at you even if you can't beat the great divine lord." Qin Yun laid on Bai Suxin's jade-like legs and looked at the slightly dignified white-haired beauty. Her jade-like face is currently filled with worry. Qin Yun could not help but reach out his hand to touch her face and said with a smile, "I'm not trying to be brave. I just want to test my own strength." "But you're injured." That guy only broke a sword. Bai Suxin still felt that Qin Yun was somewhat reckless. Qin Yun said with a smile, "He lost an arm." As he spoke, he took out the great divine lord's severed arm and held the broken sword with the hilt. When Bai Suxin saw this, she was shocked. She did not expect that the great divine lord would not be able to gain any advantage and have one of his arms cut off. Then hurry up and announce this matter. Otherwise, everyone will think that you've lost miserably. Bai Suxin hurriedly said. Qin Yun said with a smile, "No rush, no rush. Let the great divine lord be happy for a while first. After I recover, we'll talk about this matter." That's a few months later. Bai Suxin sighed softly. He won't recover so quickly. Your body is getting stronger and stronger. Once you're injured, it'll be hard for you to recover quickly. Qin Yun said with a smile. Very good, this way little queen can accompany me for a while. Bai Suxin chuckled in annoyance and said, If you want me to accompany you, I can do it anytime. There's no need for you to injure yourself. With that said, she lowered her head and kissed Qin Yun's lips. Unknowingly, they stopped healing and started kissing. Xiao Yun, I'll cultivate the third level of the Sun-Moon Heart Sutra with you. It might help you recover faster. Bai Suxin transmitted her voice to Qin Yun. She and Qin Yun were kissing and hugging each other tightly. Yes. Thanks for your hard work. Qin Yun replied. Bai Suxin had been looking forward to this moment for a long time, but she did not expect that it would happen in this sort of situation. Soon, Qin Yun and Bai Suxin entered a state of joint cultivation. After an unknown amount of time, when Qin Yun woke up, he felt that his body is a bit better. He is no longer as weak and powerless as before. In this sweet and wonderful state, he finally had a good sleep. When he woke up, he saw that beautiful woman with waist-length white hair sitting beside the bed and wearing clothes. Qin Yun hastily pulled her hand and asked, Suxin, where are you going? Bai Suxin turned her head and smiled softly. Her beautiful jade-like face is exquisite, gentle and beautiful. Her beautiful and sweet smile made Qin Yun unable to help but get up and kiss her face. Here, this is Bai Shenyang's sun seed. Bai Suxin took out a white pearl and gave it to Qin Yun. Where are you going? Qin Yun asked again. I have some matters to take care of. Bai Suxin also kissed Qin Yun's face and said with smile, Don't worry, I'll be back very soon. I want to continue healing you. We still have to be together for a while. Bai Suxin wore a set of white close-fitting clothes, then a set of tight-fitting clothes and a mask. It looks like she is going to fight. Are you going to fight? Qin Yun somewhat anxiously asked. No. It's my father's matter. He and my mother are traveling God desolate, they are nearby, I want to go see them. Bai Suxin said. I will go with you. Qin Yun immediately said. No need, just wait for me here. Bai Suxin pinched Qin Yun's arm and said with smile, Listen to me. Qin Yun could only nod his head and kiss her on the cheek. After Bai Suxin left the nine-sun heaven-raising pagoda, Qin Yun immediately let Long Tianji out. Tianji, follow Suxin, don't be discovered by her. If there is any situation, immediately contact me. Qin Yun warned repeatedly. Yes. Bai Suxin also left the nine-sun heaven-raising pagoda. Qin Yun finished wearing clothes and sat cross-legged on the bed. He checked his injuries and found that only 10% of them have recovered. In this kind of situation, he is basically unable to fight. He felt very uneasy in his heart. He promptly took out the devil mirror and contacted Yu Shangyun. He asked, Sister Shangyun, do you know about Suxin's parents? She suddenly said that she wants to go find her parents. What is going on? I never heard her mention it. How about this? I will send Luo Luo to find her. Hearing Qin Yun's question, Yu Shangyun realized that he is worried about Bai Suxin and immediately sent Luo Yaofeng. I sent Tianji to follow her. Qin Yun said. Don't worry, Suxin is not weak. Yu Shangyun asked. How are your injuries? Have Yao Xue, Feng Yue, and the others woken up? My injuries are a bit better, they still haven't woken up. Qin Yun replied. We have repaired your stone creation divine tool, it can be used. But I don't know how to make it, Yu Shangyun said. Yu Shangyun is also an inscription master, but she is not a peak inscription master. Wait until I go to 4 divine sons, I will make some more for you, Qin Yun said. Oh, that's right, how is Sister Kiru? Is she still in Moon Heart? Yes. She must wait for her divine son to come out, then she will leave Moon Heart and enter Divine Sun Core, Yu Shangyun said. At this time, Long Tianji contacted Qin Yun and said, Master, it is not good, Sister Suxin is in trouble. I will go help her first. What kind of trouble? Qin Yun hastily interrupted his conversation with Yu Shangyun and asked Long Tianji. She is together with an old couple, they are heavily injured, their bodies are incomplete and they are being chased by a group of people. I will go help them, Long Tianji said. After Qin Yun put away the devil mirror, Ling Yun immediately ran out. Zi Qingqing and Shui Tianzi also changed into battle clothes and came out. Ling Yun told them to change immediately. Don't be afraid, there is still us. Let's go together, Ling Yun said. Chapter 27:35. Qin Yun took out the heaven-leaping shuttle and flew towards Long Tianji's side with Ling Yun and the other women. Xiao Yun, you don't need to take action when the time comes, just leave it to us. If it doesn't work, there is still Yang Yang, Ling Yun said. Qin Yun shook his head and said, Don't look down on the enemy, we will go first. We are not going to fight, we are going to take Suxin and her parents away. Although Zi Qingqing and Shui Tianzi have been inside the 9 Sun Divine Soul for a very long time and have not fought for a very long time, they have often trained and absorbed divine power from many divine sons. Combined with Sun and Moon Heart Sutra, their divine power is also very strong. Qin Yun knew their strength very well. However, unless it was absolutely necessary, he would not let the 2 beauties fight. It would be more reliable to let Yang Yang fight. Qin Yun and Long Tianji are still in contact. Long Tianji is following by Suxin from far away. She took out the devil mirror and recorded everything she saw and sent it to Qin Yun. Bai Suxin and the old couple are flying in the sky, their speed is very fast. Moreover, their bodies are protected by a layer of light white divine power, it is clearly by Shenyang's divine power. And behind them, there are dozens of robust men wearing battle armor chasing them. These robust men are riding silver-winged Pegasi, whose bodies are flickering with thunder and lightning. Pegasi are very sturdy and their flying speed is very fast, their bodies are completely black. There is a short sword-like horn on their head, their green eyes are very large and flickering with dark green light. Seeing these people chasing by Suxin and her parents, Qin Yun cannot help but frown, he doesn't know which faction they came from. These dozens of people are certainly very strong, otherwise it would be impossible for them to injure Bai Suxin's parents so heavily. Bai Suxin's father is White Sun Divine Realm's Divine King, White Sunday. After coming to Divine Desolate, although his Divine King Heavenly Seal is useless, he was after all a Divine King of a region. He can certainly keep up with the times. Bai Suxin's parents' cultivation surpasses Shen Tianjuan's. Even if they can't defeat these powerful people, they won't be seriously injured. What kind of background do these guys have? Ling Yun asked. Zi Qingqing and Shui Tianzi also looked at the magic mirror in Qin Yun's hand. This was the enemy they might face, so they looked at it very carefully. Look at the weapons in their hands, they are all the same big swords. Shui Tianzi said, their swords look a bit strange. Qin Yun only noticed after Shui Tianzi said this. Then he told Long Tianji to pay attention to the large swords in the hands of the cavalry. Zi Qingqing said, those Pegasi are also very strange. They don't seem to have any life. The Pegasus might have been refined from a puppet. Qin Yun nodded and said, "And the swords in their hands are not ordinary weapons. There are no runes on the surface of the swords." Long Tianji used the magic mirror to take a picture of the swords in the hands of the cavalry and magnified it very clearly. After seeing clearly, Shui Tianzi immediately said, "This is a sword cultivator. Those are their natal divine swords." "Is that so? How can you be so sure?" Qin Yun could not tell. "I guessed it, because when they were riding, they did not use any strength to hold the sword hilt, and the sword hilt and the flesh of their palms felt connected." Shui Tianzi said. Ling Yuner said, "Xiao Yun, send it to the others and ask them what the origin of this group of cavalry is." "Who should I ask?" Qin Yun sent it to many of his friends. Although he received a reply very quickly, nobody knows the origin of this group of cavalry. Xie Wufeng is certain that the swords in the hands of the cavalry are origin swords. Moreover, they have cultivated the same sword Dao cultivation technique. He also said that they should be called origin evil swords because this kind of origin sword is continuously refined and strengthened through slaughter or large amount of blood. He also asked Qin Yun where he met this group of cavalry and said that the Myriad Realms Divine Court must eliminate this kind of origin devil cultivator. Qin Yun only replied that he is not clear for the time being. After investigating clearly, he will inform Xie Wufeng. Soon after, Qin Yun received a message from Imperial Yao Yao. She only said that they might be from the heaven-opening ancient clan. Because the silver-winged Pegasus that these cavalry are riding is very common among the heaven-opening ancient clan. It is a kind of puppet mount that possesses a certain amount of battle strength. Many heaven-opening ancient clan have mastered the method to create this kind of silver-winged Pegasus. Qin Yun is not surprised to learn that they are from the heaven-opening ancient clan. Only the heaven-opening ancient clan has this kind of strength. Not long after, Qin Yun received news from Yu Luanhui. Those are Xie ancient clan's evil sword devil cavalry. Yu Luanhui has already returned to Yu ancient clan. His body has also recovered. Yu Luanhui promised to help Qin Yun obtain the secret method to create the Yu clan heavenly talisman. Xie ancient clan? How strong are they? Qin Yun asked. Same as our Yu ancient clan, they are very strong. These guys are rather brutal. Their cultivation method is mainly based on slaughter. Yu Luanhui said, Boss Qin, if you meet them, you should take a detour. You should take a detour. Qin Yun wants to go saved by Sushin, so he will definitely have to face the evil sword devil cavalry. Do you know their weakness? Qin Yun asked. They are all sword cultivators. Their strongest is the origin evil sword in their hands. If we can destroy their natal evil swords, their strength will be greatly reduced and they will be very easy to deal with. Yu Luanhui said, but destroying their evil swords is very difficult. Before, Yu Luanhui was worried that Qin Yun would be injured by Great Divine King. But now that Qin Yun has to face a group of evil sword devil cavalry, he believes that Qin Yun's condition is pretty good. Alright. Qin Yun put away the devil mirror. After Yu Luanhui obtains the secret method to create the Yu clan heavenly talisman, he will contact him again. Qin Yun told Zi Qingqing and the others the news he had received. If they are sword cultivators, it will be very difficult. Shui Tianzi said. Relax, we don't need to fight. We will first go meet up with Tianji and bring her in. Then we will quickly go to Sushin's side, get close to them and then teleport them in. Qin Yun released Little Ant Queen from the Heaven Leaping Shuttle's control room. He needs to use her formidable spatial divine power. Very quickly, Qin Yun caught up to Long Tianji and brought her into the control room. From inside the control room, they can clearly see the group of evil sword devil cavalry. The Heaven Leaping Shuttle is invisible, so they have not been discovered. But if they get close, they will definitely be discovered. Qin Yun took out the Divine King's Spear and prepared to shoot out a large amount of third-level Divine Universe Gold Bullet. These divine universe gold bullets are enough to disturb the group of evil sword devil cavalry. After preparing, Qin Yun immediately let Little Ant Queen release her spatial divine power. Then he used the heaven-leaping shuttle to travel through space and arrived behind by Sushin in a short while. "It's me." Qin Yun's voice came out of the heaven-leaping shuttle. Then he used spatial divine power to lock onto by Sushin and her parents and teleported them into a room. This process is very smooth. Chapter 2736. From time to time, Qin Yun would get Zi Qinqing and company to use the pill transformation heavenly furnace to make some divine universe golden bullets in the Nine Yang divine soul. In his God King Spear's internal space, there were more grade 3 divine universe gold bullets and only slightly more than 10 grade 4 divine universe gold bullet. 100 or so grade 3 divine universe gold bullets should be enough. I'll use half of them first and see how the effects are. Qin Yun controlled the heaven-leaping shuttle and traversed through space. He arrived at the side of the evil sword fiend cavalry and fired dozens of level 3 divine universe golden bullet. God, the universe gold bullet was very small, only the size of a pill. When it was shot out with the God King Spear, it was extremely fast and its power was not weak. The God King Spear had been refined with a Dragon Peach's core fragment, and it had become much stronger. Even after firing dozens of divine universe golden bullets, it only felt slightly hot. God, the Eugene bullets were shot out in an instant, like many specks of light flashing past, enveloping the group of evil sword demon cavalry. When the evil sword demon cavalry saw their target suddenly disappear, they sensed that something was wrong. Moreover, they also sensed spatial fluctuations. They knew that someone had used spatial energy to save their target. Just like that, just as their captain took out his equipment and searched for hidden things nearby, he suddenly felt a scorching aura. The grade 3 divine universe gold bullets shot over, bringing with them waves of heat. After all, dozens of divine universe gold bullets were shot out, and a large amount of sun-moon divine flame elixir was added to refine them. They were all burning at this moment, so when they were shot out, they would heat up. These evil sword demon cavalrymen were all elite cavalry. When they sensed danger, they scattered in all directions. However, there were many grade 3 divine universe gold bullets that had been shot out. Furthermore, they were spread out and their speed was very fast. Even if they knew that danger was approaching, they wouldn't be able to react so quickly. Bang bang! Number 10 divine universe gold bullets fell. There were more than 50 evil sword demon cavalrymen, and at least 20 of them had been hit. Nonetheless to say, they were indeed very powerful sword cultivators. They instinctively swung their swords to block the sudden attacks. When the natal evil swords in their hands slashed out, many of them could hit the divine gold bullets. God, the Eugene bullets collided with the natal evil sword, producing a series of loud bangs. Only 20-odd evil sword demonic cavalrymen missed the divine universe gold bullet. After their bodies were struck by the divine universe gold bullets, they were sent flying. As for those who used their innate evil swords to hit the divine universe golden bullets, their swords were also affected by the explosion, but they were able to ensure that their bodies were not blown away. These guys are very strong. Level 3 divine universe gold bullet can't do anything to them. Qin Yun saw that the evil sword devil cavalry was only lightly injured. He immediately controlled the heaven-leaping shuttle to travel through space, distancing himself from the group of evil sword demon cavalry before contacting Luo Yaofeng. Yu Shangyun had already sent Luo Yaofeng over. Qin Yun told her to return to Yu Shangyun's side. He was fine here. Save once he left by Sushin's family behind, Qin Yun immediately flew away. White. Although Sushin's parents were heavily injured, they were from the White Sun Divine world. They definitely cultivated in White Divine Yang, so Qin Yun was not very worried. Seriously, little queen, you should have told me earlier and brought me with you. Then, we wouldn't have gone through so much trouble. Qin Yun used the magic mirror to contact Bai Suxin and asked, "How are uncle and auntie's injuries?" "They're fine now. I'll let them rest well. Teleport me to the main control room," Bai Suxin replied. She secretly sighed. Qin Yun is still the most awesome. Even though he is injured, his ability is still very strong. He still has the ability to save her family. Qin Yun teleported Bai Suxin to the main control room. Seeing that Bai Suxin is fine, Zi Qingqing, Shui Tianzi, Long Tianji and Ling Yuner felt relieved and returned. "Xiao Yun, my father and mother told you not to lower your guard. Those guys are very powerful. They have been chasing after my father and mother for a long time. They had no choice but to ask me for help and even ran over to me." Qin Yun hugged her and kissed her forehead. Qin Yun hugged her, kissed her forehead and said in reprimand, "Such an important matter, why didn't you tell me? Are you still treating me as an outsider? I was worried about you because your injuries have not healed." Bai Suxin bit her lips, leaned on Qin Yun's bosom, and said in low voice. At this moment, the heaven-leaping shuttle suddenly issued an alarm. "Not good, they are catching up." Qin Yun immediately sat down and controlled the heaven-leaping shuttle to travel through space. Bai Suxin became very nervous and hastily asked, "How did they catch up?" "They are clearly traveling through space. These heaven-opening ancient race people have a way to track me through space. Almost all the Black Dragon assassins who chased me before can do it," Qin Yun said. Bai Suxin arrived beside Qin Yun and held his hand. She is somewhat worried that Qin Yun would be caught up and would have to face those evil sword devil cavalry. "Don't be afraid." Qin Yun lightly patted her hand and said with smile, "Your problem is my problem." Then he let Bai Suxin sit on the same chair as him. "I will continue healing you." Bai Suxin placed her lily-white hand on Qin Yun's chest and poured in a large amount of white divine sun power. Qin Yun controlled the heaven-leaping shuttle to continue traveling through space. He is thinking about where he should go. If those evil sword devil cavalry continue to chase him, he will have to go to a place where they won't dare to follow. Most after that, he decided to fly to Heaven's Mandate Holy Land. Qin Yun also wants to see how Heaven's Mandate Holy Land is doing. Long Shu and Monkey King are both in Heaven's Mandate Holy Land. They can be considered as Qin Yun's friends. "Suxin, those guys are evil sword devil cavalry from the evil ancient race. How did they catch your parents?" Qin Yun asked. "They found out that my parents have bloodline heavenly runes. They want to kill my parents and take their bloodline heavenly runes." Bai Suxin said very angrily, "Your parents have bloodline heavenly runes?" Qin Yun is very shocked. Bai Sun God King's bloodline heavenly rune box fell into the hands of White Sun Fairy Emperor and was swindled away by Qin Yun. "That's right. They never told me this secret before because even they don't know why they have bloodline heavenly runes in their bodies. Maybe it's because they have held onto the bloodline heavenly rune box for many years." Bai Suxin is also very puzzled. Qin Yun's research on the bloodline heavenly rune box is not small. He can extract energy from the bloodline heavenly rune box and release a very strong flame to burn the Dragon Peach's pit. The bloodline heavenly rune box's energy can burst out very strong power. Qin Yun's myriad heaven divine saber can cut myriad heaven divine swords and even cut off the great divine king's arm because the bloodline heavenly rune box is fused into the saber. Chapter 2737. Bai Suxin only shook her head. She doesn't know much about her parents' situation and didn't have time to ask. Perhaps bloodline heavenly marks only gave them special abilities. They didn't make them stronger. Bai Suxin sighed softly. "Once they recover from their injuries, we'll ask them. If they don't want to talk, don't blame them." Xiao Yun. Qin Yun gently stroked Bai Suxin's white hair and said with smile, "How could I blame them?" Under Qin Yun's control, the heaven-leaping shuttle continuously pierced through space towards Heaven's Mandate Holy Land. Heaven's mandate Holy Land is the headquarters of all Heaven's dragon race. There are many different kinds of dragon race camping there and building many cities. It will become the most flourishing region since the formation of Divine Desolate. At the center of Heaven's mandate Holy Land is the Heaven's mandate Dragon Lake. Originally there was a tortoise-shell island at the center of the lake, but now it has been moved to the side. At the center of the lake is the Heaven's mandate Dragon Palace. It floated up from the bottom of the lake. Moreover, there is another space at the bottom of the lake. It is also a very important forbidden area for dragon race. This information came from the Devil Mirror. It is not a secret and all Heaven's dragon race did not try to hide it. After dragon race was unified, other powerful races have to show some respect to people with dragon bloodline or beasts. If there is no need to talk about facing true dragons. In the past, there were many internal conflicts within the clan, and they were still there. However, they were not as tragic as before, where they would fight to the death. Dragon race the internal competition is very peaceful. This can help each other improve. When Qin Yun sensed that he is about to reach the Heaven's mandate Dragon Lake, he took out the Devil Mirror and contacted Long Shu. Queen Long Shu, are you in Heaven's mandate Holy Land? Long Shu is the Tree Dragon King, so she is one of the Dragon Kings. Monkey King is also one of the Dragon Kings, but he prefers to be called Monkey King. There are many Dragon Kings in Dragon Race. Originally there were many big shots of Dragon Race, but now they are all Dragon Kings. Dragon Emperors are their leaders. Dragon Long Shu's position in Dragon Race is not low. She is one of the strongest Dragon Kings. Moreover, her Dragon King mansion is in the Heaven's mandate Dragon Lake. After a while, Long Shu replied and said in amazement, Boss Qin, you want to come to Heaven's mandate Holy Land? By the way, are your injuries serious? This fellow, the great Divine Lord, swore that you wouldn't be able to recover without 8 to 10 years. Don't listen to that guy's nonsense. I'm in some trouble. I'm being chased. Those guys are quite strong, and there are a lot of them. I can't handle them. Qin Yun chuckled and said, Your All Heavens dragon race is now the strongest race in the All Heavens. It won't be a problem for me to bring those guys to the heavenly mandate sacred land, right? Shu was startled for a moment before rolling her eyes and laughing. You rascal, you just finished fighting with the great Divine Lord, and you've provoked another strong enemy? Fine, bring those fellows to the Heaven's mandate sacred land. This is what you said. If you suffer any losses, don't blame me. Qin Yun only felt at ease after obtaining Long Shu's agreement. Long Shu said with smile, A guy that you can't deal with must have some background. If they dare to cause trouble in the Heaven's mandate sacred ground, we can take them down to establish our might. Still the Heaven's mandate sacred land's outer defenses are under my Treant dragon lineage's responsibility, so I can test out the strength of those little Treants. The Heaven's mandate sacred land's outer defenses? What's the main purpose? Qin Yun asked. It's to defend against external enemies. They are the outermost defensive power of the Heaven's mandate sacred land. And the internal defense is under the responsibility of a few dragon kings. The devil dragon heavenly race is in charge of a lot of internal and external defense. After all, they are very strong. There is such a division. Then what is the level of the sun dragon race and the 9 sun dragon race in the entire dragon race? Qin Yun is very curious about this. The sun dragon race will continue to stay in the ancestral divine sun. They don't need to be responsible for the Heaven's mandate sacred land. After all, they are under the command of the 9 sun law spirit. Long Shu said, 9 sun dragon race. They are quite strong. Our All Heavens Dragon Emperor gave them the title of 9 sun dragon emperor. It seems like the overall strength of the 9 sun dragon race is very strong. Qin Yun said with smile. The dragon race wants to live in harmony. The All Heavens Dragon Emperor also doesn't want to make the 9 Sun Dragon Emperor dissatisfied. However, when it comes to external affairs, The dragon race only has one emperor and the Nine-Sun Dragon Emperor is only a title. Qin Yun believes that this is the result of both the Nine-Sun Dragon Emperor and the All-Heavens Dragon Emperor taking a step back. After all, the Nine-Sun Dragon Emperor is not weak. Furthermore, the entire Nine-Sun Dragon race is strong enough to fight against the Great Yin Divine race and the Great Heaven Divine race. Boss Qin, what kind of powerful people did you provoke? Long Shu asked. It's the Heaven-Opening Ancient Clan, Qin Yun said. What? That's great. Those bastards cut off our Dragon Peach Divine Tree. We still haven't settled the debt with them. Long Shu immediately said furiously. Back then, those dozen or so heaven-opening ancient clan experts wanted to capture Long Shu and make her their female slave. These guys are from the evil ancient clan. Qin Yun simply explained the matter of the evil sword devil cavalry. After Long Shu heard this, she doesn't think much of it. Because their dragon race also has people as strong as them. Just lure them over. After our All-Heavens Dragon race came out, other powerful races came to express their goodwill. We can't even kill the chicken to warn the monkey. Long Shu said with great anticipation. This Qin Yun has seen this kind of violent woman many times, so he is not surprised. He just wants to see how violent Long Shu is. Right, the dragon ant and dragon bee from before. Are they all in the heavenly mandate sacred land? Qin Yun recalled the matter. The dragon ants and dragon wasps were created by him using the dragon peach crystal seed. They're all here. These guys are very strong. How did you do it? I've always wanted to ask you about this. Long Shu had always been curious. She had roughly guessed that this was caused by the pit of the dragon peach, but she did not know the exact process. I opened the pit of the dragon peach, and there was a crystal seed inside. The dragon bee and dragon ant both dropped from the crystal seed. Oh right, can you open the peach pit? Qin Yun also wanted to know if the Heaven's Dragon Emperors were able to do anything. We can't open it. That thing is too hard. How did you break it open? Long Shu was even more incredulous when she spoke of this matter. Because back then, when the All-Heavens Dragon Emperor and the other big shots of the powerful races had a meeting, they had asked them to try to break open the core of the Dragon Peach. However, even the Great Divine Lord was unable to open it. Qin Yun said with smile, I cut it open with my saber. Your saber? Long Shu said in shock. What kind of saber is your saber? How can it be so strong? Even the Heaven's Divine Sword was cut in half. Qin Yun said proudly, That saber is very awesome, I'll tell you later. When I was preparing to go to the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Land, I saw many large trees turned into formation pillars. Chapter 2738. Dragon Race's reaction is very fast. Not only Long Shu, even those patrolling outside Heaven's Mandate Sacred Land have discovered a group of people approaching. I will bring people to intercept them, leave the rest to us, Long Shu said. Qin Although Yun's heaven-leaping shuttle approached Heaven's Mandate Sacred Land, it did not enter. At this time, Long Shu brought a group of tree dragon warriors wearing tree bark armor and flew out. Several after 10 tree dragon warriors flew out, they released a huge net woven from tree vines. This huge net looks very extraordinary, it has faint spatial fluctuation, it means it can stop people from passing through space. Qin Yun maintained a distance from the battlefield. He stayed in the control room and watched the battle outside with Bai Suxin. Long Shu is not taking action, she is floating not far away. Her hands are tightly holding a long wooden staff. Shay's also wearing tree bark armor. She is watching the battle between the tree dragon warriors and the evil sword devil cavalry. Evil after the evil sword devil cavalry was enveloped by the huge net woven from tree vines, their advance was immediately blocked. This caused them to become angry and irritable. They brandished their origin evil swords and crazily hacked at the huge net. The huge net suddenly enveloped the evil sword devil cavalry and was able to resist a very powerful attack. It can be seen that these tree vines are very tough. Now they are being crazily hacked by the Origin Evil Sword Devil Cavalry with their Origin Evil Sword Devil Cavalry, yet they are not immediately split open. Qin Yun carefully looked and discovered that not only are these tree vines very tough, they also have very strong regenerative power. After being cut open, they can immediately heal. Later, when I use Dragon Tree Totem, I can add White Sun Divine Power. Qin Yun said in low voice. Xiao Yun, you said that Mo and Yang Yang are looking for White Divine Yang Totem. Did they find it? Bai Suxin asked. They found it, but they have not extracted it. Qin Yun replied. He is earnestly watching the battle of the tree dragons. He wants to learn some techniques from them. I also have White Divine Yang Totem. Bai Suxin placed her hand on Qin Yun's chest and gently rubbed it. She poured in White Divine Yang Divine Power to help him recover. Is it convenient to give it to me? Qin Yun did not ask her before. Of course it's convenient. My totem is different from the ones Mo and the others found. Bai Suxin said, the totem in Bai Shenyang's body is different from the one I have. There are many types? Qin Yun was rather surprised. Of course. There were many types of sun totems and dragon totems. In truth, the same type of totem can evolve into many different forms. Bai Suxin said. Different White God Yang totems have different effects. The totem that Mo and the others obtained from Bai Shenyang's body should be complete, right? Qin Yun was still somewhat puzzled. It was complete, but it was only Bai Shenyang's own totem. I also have a White Shenyang. My White Shenyang totem is different from your White Shenyang. Bai Suxin smiled and said, even my parents' White God Yang totems are different, and their abilities are different. Wait until my injuries are healed, then give me your White God Sun totem. I want to see if I can fuse the two White God Sun totems together. Qin Yun said. He had the arcane fusion heavenly rune, so he didn't think it would be difficult. White Su Xin was also looking at the battle in the distance. She suddenly shouted, Quick, look at those tree dragon warriors. They are transforming. The tree dragon warriors are fighting in their human form. They are very weak. The huge net they released has also been completely torn apart, so they have no choice but to transform back to their original form. Many huge trees suddenly appeared in the sky. The tree trunks of the huge trees are covered with stiff dragon scales. Below the tree roots are many thick and solid dragon claws. The leaves on the thick and solid branches are all dragon scales. Evil the Origin Sword of the Sword Devil Cavalry hacked at the tree trunks and let out a burst of crisp sound. It is simply unable to cut those dragon scales. The tree vines released by the tree dragon became even more powerful. Those tree vines are as thick as a water jar and have dragon scales on them. Evil after the sword Devil Cavalry's silver-winged Pegasus were entangled by the tree vines, they were instantly deformed and damaged. Silver-winged Pegasus are puppets, they are all made of sturdy materials. Overall, they are very sturdy. However, they cannot last long against the tree dragon's terrifying tree vines. Tree dragon's tree vines can grow very quickly. Those evil sword Devil Cavalry also realized that it is very difficult to get rid of this group of tree dragons. Therefore, they can only retreat. However, there are still more than 20 evil sword Devil Cavalry that are entangled by the tree vines. Those evil sword Devil Cavalry that are entangled by the tree vines ended up in a miserable state. After their bodies were tightly bound, the tree vines tightened and the bones inside their bodies let out caw-caw sound, all kinds of flesh and blood flew out. The miserable screams of the evil sword Devil Cavalry are very sharp, it caused people's scalp to go numb. The most dreadful thing is that after the evil sword Devil Cavalry's body was destroyed, they actually started burning. Although the tree dragon is wood attribute, it is not afraid of fire. It can even release flames to burn the evil sword Devil Cavalry's body to ashes and absorb them like fertilizer. A large number of evil sword Devil Cavalry fled in all directions. This time they suffered heavy casualties. Even if they managed to escape, they were all injured. Long Shu, who is watching the battle, seems to be somewhat dissatisfied. She is floating in the air, one hand leaning on her staff, the other hand on her waist. With a stern expression, she pointed out the areas that the Tree Dragon warriors did not do well. Qin Yun wants to consult Long Shu about the Dragon Tree Totem. It will allow him to master even stronger totem divine technique and use it in inscription battle technique. After Long Shu finished lecturing the Tree Dragon warriors, she flew towards Qin Yun. Qin Yun did not hide his heaven-leaping shuttle. After all, this is Dragon Race's territory and there are acquaintances here. There is no need to be sneaky. Boss Qin, isn't your gourd a bit small? After Long Shu flew over, she stood on the heaven-leaping shuttle. The heaven-leaping shuttle now looks like a few meters long white gourd. From the outside, it indeed looks very small. I'll bring you in. Qin Yun's voice echoed. Earlier, he also mentioned Long Shu to Bai Suxin. Bai Suxin found out that this is a Dragon King. She also saw that she helped to repel the evil sword Devil Cavalry. Naturally, she knows that this is a very strong Dragon King. She immediately felt deep veneration for Long Shu. She hastily took out her hand from Qin Yun's clothes and left his embrace. After all, she is the somewhat famous White Sun Duke. In front of outsiders, she must maintain the dignity of a queen. Dragon after Long Shu came in, she saw that the control room is very big and the field of vision is very good. She immediately said in envy, "So there is a heavenly grotto inside this gourd, there is even a great beauty hidden inside." Long Shu, this is Divine Moon Races by Suxin, Qin Yun said. Chapter 2739. Bai Suxin is rather modest, she said with a chuckle. I am only an elder of the Divine Moon clan, White Sun King is already a thing of the past. Besides, White Sun Dragon King is much stronger than me. Then what about your father, Divine King White Sun? He is not weak at all. Long Shu said with a smile. Is he all right? Speaking of this matter, Bai Suxin sighed. My parents were chased by those evil sword Devil Cavalry and are now heavily injured and recuperating. It was all thanks to Queen Long Shu that we were able to repel those guys. You're welcome. Your parents are not weak, it's impossible for them to be heavily injured by those guys. There must be someone else. Long Shu said with absolute certainty. Qin Yun suddenly felt that Long Shu must know a lot about Bai Suxin's parents. After they recuperate for a while, I'll go ask. Bai Suxin nodded and said, I didn't have the time to ask before. Long Shu patted Qin Yun's shoulder and asked, Boss Qin, it seems like your injuries are not light. That great divine king really wasn't bragging. She can tell with a glance that Qin Yun's current condition is not very good. Great the divine king said that Qin Yun was injured by him and would not be able to recover in 8 to 10 years. Many big shots are somewhat suspicious of this. Dragon Shu is the same. However, after she saw Qin Yun, she knew that the great divine king was not bragging. My injuries were really not caused by the great divine king, Qin Yun said with a smile. Furthermore, I don't need 8 to 10 years, at most a year and a half. Long Shu said with a smile. With this beautiful White Sun King here, it will indeed be very fast. Bai Suxin also felt that it is somewhat strange. This Long Shu seems to understand her quite well, she even knows a bit about her parents. It can be seen that this is not what Qin Yun told her. Queen Long Shu, did White Sun Dragon King tell you a lot about my family? Bai Suxin asked. Long Shu nodded and said, Because your family has the bloodline heavenly pattern box. All Heaven's Dragon Emperor is also very curious about this matter. During the Dragon King conference of our All Heaven's Dragon race, White Sun Dragon King mentioned it before. White Sun Dragon King later said that your father's bloodline heavenly pattern was taken away by the White Sun Elf Emperor. Yes, the White Sun Elf Emperor is very despicable, forcing my father to hand over the bloodline heavenly pattern box. When Bai Suxin mentioned this matter, she was still somewhat angry, even though she knew that the White Sun Elf Emperor had been killed by Qin Yun. But your parents must have inherited the bloodline heavenly pattern. As long as they held onto the bloodline heavenly pattern box for long enough, they would be branded with bloodline heavenly patterns. However, he won't be able to sense it at the start. He will have to wait for the right time for the heavenly runes to awaken, said Long Shu. There is such a thing. Qin Yun's eyes widened as he said in shock. You fused with my egg. That's my bloodline heavenly pattern box, but you don't know much about bloodline heavenly patterns. Long Shu curled her lips and smiled. The bloodline heavenly pattern box in your hand is very enviable. Even I am jealous of you. Shu did not know that Bai Yang bloodline heavenly pattern box was also in Qin Yun's hands. Otherwise, she would be even more shocked. White Su Xian looked at Qin Yun in astonishment. She never expected him to have fused with Long Shu's bloodline heavenly rune. Qin Yun promptly said with smile, "Then I ask Queen Long Shu to give me many pointers." Long Shu suddenly pulled Bai Suxin's hand and said, "Sister Suxin, you also have bloodline heavenly rune in your body, it is just that it has not awakened yet." "Really? I don't sense it, my parents also never told me about it." After Long Shu held Bai Suxin's hand, she felt a kind of intimate feeling coming from Long Shu's body. She said in low voice, "Long Shu, I seem to have sensed something." Qin Yun said, "Long Shu was born from bloodline heavenly rune, however, it is dragon bloodline heavenly rune." Qin Yun said, "I will try and see if I can awaken your bloodline heavenly rune." Long Shu looked all around and said, "Boss Qin, you control the gourd to fly in, it will be a bit safer." Yun immediately controlled the heaven-leaping shuttle and flew into heaven's mandate sacred land. Long Shu released her divine power and covered the surface of the heaven-leaping shuttle, indicating that she is inside. Dragon Shu pulled Bai Suxin's hands and asked Qin Yun to take out a blanket for them to sit down. "Long Shu, what should I do?" Bai Suxin asked. "You don't need to do anything, just relax your body." Long Shu smiled warmly and said, "Sister Suxin, don't worry, the process won't be painful." Bai Suxin nodded, then looked at Qin Yun who was sitting beside her. Qin Yun nodded and said, "Let's give it a try, it doesn't matter even if we don't succeed." Qin Yun noticed that when Long Shu entered the heaven-leaping shuttle and found out that the white-haired beauty was Bai Suxin, her eyes were filled with pleasant surprise. She looked at Bai Suxin as if she was looking at her sweetheart. Qin Yun realized that Long Shu must know that Bai Suxin has something special about her body. Long Shu is rather strange, her nickname is Granny Tree Dragon, she is also very easy to get along with. She asked Qin Yun for a vat of blood before and now she is taking the initiative to help Bai Suxin awaken her bloodline heavenly rune. Qin Yun suspects that Long Shu might also ask for a vat of Bai Suxin's blood. Long Shu said in low voice. They are sitting cross-legged on a blanket, two delicate and soft jade-like palms are tightly pressed against each other. Bai Suxin's long white hair draped over her shoulder, her white eyes are currently staring at Long Shu. When she is serious, she shows a bit of heroic spirit. This kind of dignified appearance coupled with her white hair makes her look very beautiful. Long Shu has a head full of slightly curly brown hair that drapes over her shoulder. Shu, on the other hand, had slightly curly brown hair that draped over her shoulders. Her face was slightly long, and there was a faint charm amidst her bewitching appearance. At the same time, she had a wild valiance to her. The aura of a female dragon queen would be released from her body from time to time when she was serious. Qin Yun is watching from the side. At first he was admiring these two beautiful women who are pleasing to the eye, but when he saw their serious and solemn expression, he felt that something is wrong. Qin Yun hastily asked, "The situation is not good." Long Shu said in deep voice, "Sister Suxin, it's my fault, I didn't expect this kind of situation to happen." It's okay, we will endure it. Bai Suxin slightly frowned and said, Don't be afraid, I am currently using Divine Moon Race's Sun Moon Heart Sutra. Long Shu, cooperate with me. Alright. Long Shu replied. Qin Yun saw that their palms are tightly pressed against each other, then he immediately opened his heavenly eye to take a look. He is shocked to discover that their blood is flowing through their palms. Not only that, their divine power is flowing through each other's body and circulating inside their body. How can this be? Qin Yun hastily asked. We also don't know. Boss Qin, don't worry, we can handle it. Don't get involved, otherwise you will be implicated. Your injuries are still not healed. Long Shu said in low voice. Chapter 2740. Qin Yun immediately realized that the two of them must have been conversing via voice transmission. However, he knew that it could not be hidden from his eyes. Tell me about the situation. I won't interfere, but I might have a way. Qin Yun said, Don't look down on me, I am after all a god king, my experience in all aspects is not something you can compare to. Long Shu said, Let's put it this way. I awakened the bloodline heavenly rune in Sister Suxin's body, but I couldn't suppress it. Her bloodline heavenly pattern has just awakened and she wants to devour my bloodline heavenly pattern. We can only barely suppress the heavenly patterns in my body from devouring them. Bai Suxin said, We can't separate either, because our heavenly tattoos are intertwined with each other. If we separate, one of us will definitely be injured, or both of us will be injured. The two women's expressions were very grave. It was obvious that the problem was very serious. Qin Yun stroked his chin as he thought of a solution. He asked, If this continues, what good will the outcome be? I don't know. In short, as long as we don't separate our palms, we'll be fine. Long Shu said, We will think of a way to handle it, don't worry. How could Qin Yun not be worried? If he did not separate them and something went wrong, it would be a huge problem. Bloodvein heavenly runes were their foundation, so if they were damaged, it would definitely harm their foundation. Why do bloodline heavenly runes devour each other? Are they really devouring each other or are they just tangling with each other? Qin Yun asked. It should be the feeling of intertwining with each other. It's like the feeling of lovers meeting again after being separated for a long time. Bai Suxin suddenly said, They're not going to devour each other. Is that so? Why do I feel like your heavenly pattern is going to devour me? How does it feel when lovers meet again after being separated for a long time? Long Shu asked. You don't have a lover, so it's only natural that you don't know. Bai Suxin had been very stern, but she suddenly smiled sweetly. Dragonshu cast a glance at Qin Yun. She could also tell that Qin Yun and Bai Suxin's relationship was not ordinary. Then what should we do? You two lovers don't plan to separate? Qin Yun curled his lips and said, Even now you still say such words. Shu laughed and said, That's right, I'm going to steal your white-haired beauty. Are you jealous? Bai Suxin suddenly said, I have an idea. I have a white Shenyang totem, and I suspect that it has something to do with the heavenly patterns in my bloodline. If I can carve my white Shenyang totem on Long Shu, I might be able to make her bloodline heavenly patterns retreat. Who can carve this kind of rune? The white god Yang totem on your body is definitely very complicated. Long Shu shook her head gently and said, I also have a complicated dragon tree totem on my body. If it is carved into my body, it is very likely that there will be a rejection. Su Xian looked at Qin Yun and said, Xiao Yun is a very brilliant inscription master, this is not difficult for him. She knew that Qin Yun had helped many women from the Divine Moon clan inscribe runes. All of them went smoothly. Some of them even managed to inscribe multiple runes at the same time. Alright, let's start immediately. Long Shu said to Qin Yun, Boss Qin, your injuries are not light, can you still carve? It's not a problem for me. It's just that when I carve the runes, it will be a little inconvenient for you, Qin Yun said somewhat embarrassedly. Isn't it just taking off our clothes? It's not a big deal. Long Shu said, Hurry up! Qin Yun is startled. This female Dragon King's straightforwardness caused him to feel very surprised. Bai Suxin also feels that it's nothing, she only feels somewhat embarrassed. However, she can see that an outsider like Long Shu doesn't care, so she also acts as if it doesn't matter. Alright then, I will start now. Qin Yun took out the floating cloud divine needle and took a deep breath. Bai Su Xian said, I will start first. My white god Yang totem is on my body, you have to master it first. Sister Suxin, I want your white god Yang totem, so I will also give you my dragon tree totem. Long Shu said with smile. Boss Qin, later you will also carve my dragon tree totem on Sister Suxin's body. Do you have enough willpower to complete this task? Qin Yun said with bitter smile. What kind of willpower is needed for this? I just feel somewhat embarrassed. After speaking, he walked over, coiled up Bai Suxin's long white hair, and took off her clothes. Bai Suxin also released the white god Yang totem on the surface of her body, letting Qin Yun record it. Qin Yun has the Sun Emperor inscription spirit. Moreover, after the Sun Emperor inscription spirit takes human form, it will be Bai Suxin. Therefore, Qin Yun's speed in recording the white god Yang totem on Bai Suxin's body is very fast. In just a moment, it has been imprinted into his mind. Spirituner said in low voice, Xiao Yun, this Long Shu is a person of my generation. Qin Yun also realized that Long Shu likes to see the beautiful Bai Suxin even more than him. And when he walked towards Long Shu, he discovered that the tree bark armor on her body suddenly disappeared. It's been hard on you, Boss Qin. Long Shu said with smile. Qin Yun looked at the dragon tree totem that appeared on Long Shu's body and discovered that it is somewhat similar to the totem he has mastered. However, it is a bit more complicated and even more powerful, because since he himself has the dragon tree totem, he quickly recorded it down. Then he began using the floating cloud divine needle to carve the white god Yang totem on Long Shu's body. You truly recorded the white god Yang totem? You didn't even record it for long, how did you finish it so quickly? Long Shu asked. Even Bai Suxin has some doubts and said, Xiao Yun, you don't need to be embarrassed. I truly recorded it. You all don't have enough understanding of my inscription technique. Qin Yun said with smile. Not only he recorded it very quickly, his speed of carving runes is also not slow. It only took half an hour for him to finish. This process caused Long Shu to feel that it is inconceivable. Because Qin Yun is not messing around, he is truly carving runes. It made her feel as if she has truly carved a set of totems on her body. Qin Yun also used the Gemini treasure mirror to shine on Long Shu and let the two totems on her body fuse together. Did you let go of your bloodline heavenly runes? Qin Yun hastily asked after he finished. You carve my dragon tree totem on Sister Suxin's body, it should be enough, Long Shu said. Qin Yun immediately went over. This process is a bit faster than carving the dragon tree totem. He also used the Gemini treasure mirror to shine on her body. Finished outside, the totems on their body suddenly lit up and a very powerful aura rushed out of their body. Bai Suxin's body unexpectedly has a very powerful dragon power. What is going on? How can Suxin's dragon power be so dreadful? Qin Yun said in shock. And the white sun divine power on Long Shu's body is also very dreadful. Chapter 2741. Qin Yun took out 2 robes and draped them over their bodies. They still want to cultivate together for a while. This is the first time Long Shu is cultivating Sun and Moon Heart Sutra. Although she is cultivating with a woman, the harvest is very great. Now her divine power has improved by a lot. And the biggest improvement is fusing with Bai Shenyang Totem and Bai Suxin's bloodline heavenly rune. As for what kind of benefits there will be in the future, Long Shu still doesn't know. In short, her divine power has suddenly become a lot stronger. This is the most obvious improvement. They closed their eyes and cultivated together. The situation has already stabilized. Qin Yun is now a lot more relaxed. The two women did not cultivate together for a long time, mainly because it is not suitable for long-term cultivation, so they quickly stopped. After stopping, Long Shu took off her robe. Her beautiful body suddenly overflowed with white light, and then a set of white dress filled with immortal aura appeared. Her clothes are no longer the tree bark color from before. She is wearing a white dress. Her female Dragon King aura has not weakened at all. Only her tyrannical wildness has decreased a bit. Bai Suxin also doesn't need to wear her original clothes. She can now release her clothes, just like Long Shu, but she is not very used to it. In the end, she still changed into a set of white battle armor. Boss Qin, didn't you see enough just now? Long Shu saw Qin Yun looking at her and teased him. Qin Yun spread his hands and said, I really didn't see much just now. I was concentrating on carving runes. How could I have the mood to appreciate it? Long Shu laughed mischievously, and then the white dress on her body suddenly disappeared. I was just joking. Qin Yun really did not expect that this female Dragon King would be so open. He finally understood why Ling Yun'er said that Long Shu is one of our generation. I won't tease you anymore. Long Shu laughed loudly and then turned around. Her body overflowed with white light and a set of white armor appeared. It looks like a fusion of dragon scales and tree bark. It looks very sturdy and domineering. Qin Yun gently pulled Bai Suxin's lily-white hand and asked, Suxin, how do you feel now? Very good. Bai Suxin said with smile. I should be able to use most of the Dragon Tree Totem's power. When I have time in the future, I will often look for Long Shu to learn from her. I also want to learn. Qin Yun spoke and released a kind of tree claw. It looks like a dragon claw carved out of wood. It is very powerful. Then, he released tree vines that were as thick as an arm. These tree vines all looked like tiny dragon bodies. Long Shu, I mastered the Dragon Tree Totem before. What do you think of my usage? Qin Yun asked. Not bad. When I have time, I will give the two of you some pointers. Long Shu smiled and said, We can learn from each other and improve each other. Bai Suxin said, The main ability of my White Divine Yang Totem is healing. If I use my White Divine power, I can heal my injuries even faster. It works well with my Dragon Tree Totem. Even if my tree is damaged, it can recover faster. Long Shu laughed. We tree dragons already have a very strong recovery ability, but it was not enough at that time. With Bai Shenyang's divine power, it will be even faster. Young Yun, I'm going to visit my parents, Bai Suxin suddenly said. I'll go with you. Qin Yun pulled her hand and was about to teleport over. Let me ask them first. I'm worried that they'll be biased against you, Bai Suxin said anxiously. Qin Yun has the White Sun Bloodline Heavenly Rune Box. She is worried that her parents will want to come back after finding out. Therefore, she wants to probe them. If her parents really want to come back, she will not let them see Qin Yun. This way they can avoid conflict. Bai Suxin was teleported to a room on the Heaven Leaping Shuttle by Qin Yun. Her parents are healing themselves inside. Their injuries healed very quickly. After all, they came from the White Sun Divine Realm. After Bai Suxin left, Long Shu patted Qin Yun's shoulder and said with smile, Boss Qin, you are really something. I didn't expect you to have the White Sun Bloodline Heavenly Rune. How did you know? Qin Yun said with frown. Did Suxin tell you? Of course not. How could she tell me this kind of secret? Long Shu shook her head and said, You might not believe it, but Sister Suxin's Bloodline Heavenly Rune told me. Bloodline Heavenly Rune told you? Qin Yun is very astonished. Her bloodline heavenly rune has consciousness. Of course it doesn't have consciousness. What I mean is, after I came in contact with her bloodline heavenly rune, I had a feeling that you have the White Sun bloodline heavenly rune box on you. Long Shu said. Qin Yun said earnestly. Long Shu, please don't spread this matter everywhere. Don't tell your All Heavens Dragon Emperor. Long Shu laughed and said, Don't worry, I am not that kind of blabbermouth, I won't spread this matter. Many thanks, Qin Yun said, but he is still somewhat worried in his heart. Qin Yun, you obtained my heavenly rune egg. The bloodline heavenly rune inside is very special, it is not dragon bloodline heavenly rune. My heavenly rune egg is very important to me. Long Shu's expression suddenly became very solemn and said, You must help me preserve it. In the future, it will be useful. Qin Yun immediately asked doubtfully, What do you mean? I will help you preserve that egg? I fused it with a Tao statue and turned it into a divine Tao heavenly pill. I won't be able to return it to you in the future. I don't need you to return it to me, you just need to make the heavenly rune egg stronger. Later, when my bloodline heavenly rune comes in contact with your divine Tao heavenly pill, my bloodline heavenly rune will also become stronger. I am worried that All Heaven's Dragon Emperor will send people to take it away. That egg. Qin Yun slightly inhaled a mouthful of air and said in amazement, All Heaven's Dragon Emperor wants to take that egg. Yes, if you did not obtain it, he would have eaten it and I would have no choice but to watch him eat it. Long Shu spread out her hands and said, I didn't want to give it to him at all, luckily you cultivated it into a divine Tao heavenly pill, at least it was not eaten until not even dregs were left. Wait a minute, what's going on with that heavenly rune egg? Qin Yun is even more astonished because that egg seems to be an incredible thing. I don't know, in short, after I took it out, I sensed that the egg is quickly changing, it is definitely not dragon bloodline heavenly rune. Remember that Yunhua fused with the silver moon, it was condensed by that egg. Long Shu walked over to Qin Yun and touched his abdomen, it seems like she is trying to sense the egg. Qin Yun really did not expect that the egg would be hiding such a secret. How did you give birth to that egg? Qin Yun is even more curious. In short, properly cultivate, I will frequently find you later to understand the situation. Long Shu said in low voice. Don't tell anyone about this matter, just let us know, don't let too many people know. Chapter 2742. Qin Yun has a very good impression of the Demon Dragon Heavenly Clan. He had even secretly cooperated with them before. This group of demonic dragons was very mysterious and very patient. Previously, they had been slandered by the law enforcement world in various ways, but they had never said anything. They were powerful enough to start a war with the law enforcement world, but they didn't do anything. Deacon the Law Realm was more or less afraid of them. However, the demonic dragon Heavenly Clan had never made any move to attack the Law Realm. This Qin Yun was unable to see through them. He felt that the Demon Dragon Heavenly Clan might be secretly plotting something. Deacon the Law Realm was the demonic dragon Heavenly Clan's mortal enemy. Back then, the demonic dragon Heavenly Clan had waged war against the Law Realm. Dragon after Shu went out, she quickly dispatched the group of devil dragons. Then she flew back and stood on the heaven leaping shuttle. She used the magic mirror to converse with Qin Yun. Boss Qin, it's best if you don't stay in the Heaven's Mandate Holy Land for too long. I'm worried that the Dragon Emperor will find out that you're here. Long Shu said. She was very worried about her heavenly rune egg. This she had met Qin Yun because of Bai Suxin, which was why she trusted Qin Yun a lot. It could be seen from the fact that she was willing to let Qin Yun see the totem marks on her body and carve them on her body. Want otherwise, a female dragon monarch like Long Shu would never allow a man to be so close to her. All right. Qin Yun immediately controlled the heaven leaping shuttle and flew away. Those devil dragons are chasing after the evil sword devil cavalry. Don't be afraid of them. Long Shu transmitted her voice to Qin Yun through the magic mirror. Tell the devil dragon to be careful. After all, the evil sword devil cavalry is from the heaven-opening ancient race. Moreover, they are very powerful and mysterious. Got it, you have to be careful on the road. The great Divine Lord is currently searching for you throughout the entire Divine Desolate. Long Shu warned Qin Yun. Qin Yun naturally knew that. After all, he had severed the great Divine Lord's myriad divine sword and an arm. How could the great Divine Lord take this lying down? Little Yun, my parents want to see you. Bai Suxin contacted Qin Yun. Alright, I'll be right there. Qin Yun teleported to the room. Bai Suxin's parents had white hair, and they looked a little old. They looked like people in their 60s under normal circumstances. There were only a few wrinkles on their faces, and they looked very energetic. They came from the White Sun Divine Realm, so their hair was naturally white. This white hair was different from normal white hair, so it was easy to distinguish. Hello, Uncle and Auntie. Qin Yun arrived at the room and immediately greeted politely. Little brother, we've all heard about you. I didn't expect the Bloodline Heavenly Pattern box to end up in your hands. He stood up from his chair and came to Qin Yun's side. He patted Qin Yun on the shoulder. The White Sun Elf Emperor was killed by you, and the box was taken away by you. That box is yours now, so don't worry about us getting it back. Old Mother White Sun laughed. Qin Yun immediately took out the box and said, This box originally belonged to Uncle and Aunt. It's yours now. White Sun said, Take it well, you have your own Bloodline Heavenly Rune now, you don't need this box. Your own Bloodline Heavenly Rune? Qin Yun has been curious for a long time, so he took the opportunity to ask about it. There are several types of Bloodline Heavenly Patterns. That's what I'm talking about now. Old Mother White Sun said, The box in your hand contains the most ancient Bloodline Heavenly Pattern, known as the Ancestral Vein Pattern. The Bloodline Heavenly Pattern in our bodies is the second generation of the Ancestral Vein Pattern. How do the Ancestral Vein marks reproduce? Qin Yun looked at Bai Suxin and said, Suxin has also just awakened her Bloodline Heavenly Mark. Is she also the second generation? As for the process of reproduction, it depends on whether the Ancestral Vein Pattern has chosen us or not. We've all been chosen, and our second-generation veins have only recently awakened. The White Sun God King said, Su Xin was born from us husband and wife. We were chosen by the ancestral vein marks very early on, so the vein marks in her body are the third generation. Yun suddenly understood many things. For example, Xie Qiru Luo Yaofeng, Yushang Yun, Purple Sun Elf Emperor, and Mad Sun Tiger Emperor might have Bloodline Heavenly Patterns in their bodies, but they had yet to awaken them. Like it was Long Shu and the Monkey King. The veins in their bodies should be the second generation. Could Long Shu's heaven-patterned egg be a third-generation pattern? Does that mean the ancestral vein rune is stronger? Qin Yun looked at the box in his hand. Ancestral vein rune can't be used, it can only reproduce. Actually, ancestral vein rune produces a large number of veins, some turn into totems or runes, some give birth to all kinds of living beings, sun, moon, stars and so on. White Sun God King said, According to our research, the veins are stronger with each generation. Stronger with each generation? Qin Yun is greatly shocked. He promptly looked at Bai Suxin. He thought that the ancestral vein rune was the strongest. White Old Mother Yang nodded and said with smile, Suxin's third-generation veins are stronger than ours. As for how much stronger, we still can't be sure. Because our usage of Bloodline Heavenly Rune is still at the initial stage. Many things that appear in our world are basically formed by Bloodline Heavenly Rune after countless years of reproduction. Therefore, if we want to use Bloodline Heavenly Rune well, we need many years. White Sun God King said. White Suxin asked, Mother, ancestral vein rune appeared many years ago. Doesn't that mean there will be people who have more than 10 generations of veins? Won't they be even stronger? White Sun God King shook his head and said, the first generation of bloodline heavenly rune is called ancestral vein rune. It can only be passed down for up to 9 generations. The conditions to reach 9 generations are very harsh. First, one must have 9 powerful divine sons. Living beings on the earth, 9 divine sons are equivalent to 9 veins. They release multicolored light to illuminate the living beings on the earth. Under this kind of situation, it is possible to reproduce to the 9th generation veins. Old Mother Yang said with smile, our bloodline heavenly rune box has always been in our hands. Therefore, at present, this bloodline heavenly rune box has only produced 2 and 3 generations. Generally, it's extremely difficult to reproduce a 3rd generation. Is the 3rd generation very difficult? Qin Yun hastily asked. How difficult is it? Because we have the bloodline heavenly rune box all year round, we have more bloodline in our body. That's why it can be transmitted into Sushin's body. If it was someone else who doesn't have the bloodline heavenly rune in their hands all year round, or if the husband and wife don't have the bloodline of ancestral vein rune, it would be very difficult to transmit it to the next generation. White Sun God King said. Dragon, although the egg Long Shu gave birth to is a dead egg, it is a 3rd generation bloodline heavenly rune. Long Shu might not know whether it is ancestral vein rune or 2nd generation. She only felt that the egg is very strong. Qin Yun now understands why Long Shu cares so much about the egg. Chapter 2743. Qin Yun recalled the Great Yin bloodline heavenly rune, then immediately took out a pearl and said, the Great Yin bloodline heavenly rune was given to me by someone from the Great Yin divine race. What's going on? He passed the pearl to White Sun God King and Old Mother White Sunday. Many people knew about this matter. Back then, Xian Zhankuan was forced to hand over the bloodline heavenly pattern. Qin, since Xian Zhankuan had handed it over so easily, Yun believed that there must be something wrong with the bloodline heavenly pattern. He didn't have time to figure out what was going on. This might be a 2nd generation bloodline heavenly rune. Could it be that they have mastered the method of extracting 2nd generation bloodline runes from ancestral bloodline runes? White Sun examined it carefully and said with a frown, this bloodline heavenly pattern lacks vitality, which means it wasn't born from a human body. This might be a weaker pattern. It seems like they have mastered the ability to reproduce bloodline heavenly rune. I wonder what kind of ability it has? Qin Yun wants to ask Ling Daixin. Will the ancestral vein mark be sealed in the box forever? No one can take it out? Bai Sushin asked. White Sun God King and Old Mother White Sun shook their heads. Even though they had held onto the ancestral vein runes for many years, they didn't understand them. The reason why we say that veined patterns are stronger with each generation is because the ancestral vein pattern cannot be used at all. And after we have the 2nd generation veins in our bodies, we can feel the 2nd generation veins making us stronger. Divine King White Sun sighed. Maybe the ancestral vein mark is the strongest, but no one can obtain great power from it. Qin Yun is barely able to use an ancestral vein rune. He can fuse an ancestral vein rune into the myriad heaven divine saber. This is also the reason why he can use the myriad heaven divine saber to cut apart the myriad heaven divine sword. From this, it could be seen that the ancestral vein mark was indeed very powerful. Even if it was sealed in a box, it could still explode with an extremely powerful force after being used. Rua, if he could break the box one day and obtain the ancestral godson, wouldn't the power be even more terrifying? Qin Yun's thoughts raced as he thought of many things. For example, within the Dragon Peach Divine Tree, there would definitely be 2nd generation patterns. If the Dragon Peach Divine Tree could reproduce another tree, then it would have 3rd generation patterns. However, this was very difficult to achieve. he suddenly understood why the core of the dragon peach was so sturdy. It was because the crystal seed inside could produce 3 generations of veins. With this in mind, Qin Yun was secretly excited. If Momo successfully extracted the other white god sun totem, she might really be able to reproduce a 3rd-generation dragon peach divine tree. Little brother, you have quite a few ancestral vein marks in your hands. You must properly protect these ancestral vein marks and don't let them fall into the hands of evil spirits. If we allow the evil demons to reproduce 2 or 3 generations of vein patterns, the consequences will be unthinkable. Divine King White Sun warned sternly. Qin Yun now knew that those big shots fought over the ancestral veins mainly to reproduce the 2nd and 3rd generation veins. If they could really reproduce to the 9th generation, then that would be the most terrifying. I got it. Qin Yun nodded. Our injuries are almost healed. I heard that the White Sun Dragon King is in the Heaven's Mandate sacred land. We'll take this opportunity to visit him. God King White Sun smiled and said, Don't worry about us. Su Xian's 3rd generation veins had been awakened, and she had also joined the Divine Moon clan, so the 2 elders were very at ease with her. Moreover, Bai Suxin had also spent many years like this when she left the White Sun God realm. Points at other times, Bai Suxin was still somewhat reluctant, but when she thought about how she often used the magic mirror to contact her parents, she felt that it was nothing. Qin Yun and Bai Suxin sent off the 2 elders and returned to the Heaven Leaping Shuttle. Previously, the Great Divine King was extremely against using the magic mirror, but now, he was posting messages on the magic mirror all day long, belittling and insulting Qin Yun. And Wukong even asked Qin Yun if he wanted to seal the Great Divine King's magic mirror. Qin Yun only said that it was up to him. When Qin Yun saw that the Great Divine King was done bragging, he sent out a picture on the magic mirror. The picture was of a severed hand holding a broken sword with a sword hilt. Qin Yun also added a line of words, The Great Divine King's severed arm and broken sword are truly a match. When many big shots saw this line of words and that picture, they were all extremely shocked. The entire Divine Desolate immediately went into an uproar because of this. When Qin Yun and the Great Divine King fought, everyone knew that the Great Divine King's myriad Heaven Divine sword was broken. This was something that many big shots saw with their own eyes. Later on, when the Great Divine King came back, he said that Qin Yun was heavily injured by him. He also said that his broken sword was nothing, Qin Yun's heavy injuries were the most miserable. Now, seeing that the Great Divine King's arm was severed and the broken sword with a sword hilt was still in Qin Yun's hands, everyone was filled with doubt towards the Great Divine King's words. Qin Yun also received many messages from his friends. Most of them were very excited. Xiao Yun, just how strong is this guy, the Great Divine King? Is his heavenly universe divine sun heart really as strong as he said? Bai Suxin asked. The heavenly universe divine sun heart is truly very strong, but the prerequisite is that the Great Divine King's body must be strong enough. With the Great Divine King's current body, it is impossible for him to completely explode with the divine power of his heart. Qin Yun said, The other thing is the Great Divine King's heavenly seal. Until now, he hasn't said much about his heavenly seal, so it should be very strong. Bai Suxin and Qin Yun laid on the bed, her jade-like hands gently caressing his chest. She did not know that Qin Yun's imperial heart was truly terrifying. With Bai Suxin's help, Qin Yun's injuries healed very quickly. This healing process was also extremely enjoyable for Qin Yun. I really hope that I can quickly use my 3rd generation vein rune. That way I can become even stronger. Bai Suxin lightly sighed and said, The current me can't even take a few moves from an expert like the Great Divine King. Qin Yun tightly hugged the white-haired beauty beside him and said with smile, Don't be afraid. In the heavens divine desolate great era, everyone's starting point is about the same. You will definitely become stronger in the heavens' divine moon. After you go back, it would be best if you ask Sister Kiru and Sister Shangyun. They might have second-generation vein rune. Bai Suxin is somewhat shocked. They really have second-generation vein rune? Yun Yu also has it. Qin Yun said. Yun Yu's vein rune might be the combination of second and third generation. Alright, wait for me to go back, I will ask them. Bai Suxin nodded and said. Qin Yun held the devil mirror and said with frown, compared to the great divine king, I am more worried about the Yu ancient clan and the great heaven clan emperor. Those guys from the Yu ancient clan came into contact with ancestral vein rune very early on. They might be able to inherit several generations of vein rune. Great heaven clan emperor? What about him? Bai Suxin asked. This person is deeply hidden, I can't see through him. Qin Yun shook his head and sighed. I have a premonition that this person will become one of the overlords of the heavens divine desolate in the future. Qin Yun has always been very accurate in judging people. It is not only him, even Xian Shazi thinks so. He has already asked Xian Shazi to investigate the great heaven clan emperor. He planned to contact Ling Daixin after his injuries are healed. Chapter 2744. Qin Yun is very vigilant towards Ling Daixin because she is a great heaven war god. Moreover, the mission given to her by her family is to capture Qin Yun. Bai Suxin had never met the emperor of the greatest sky tribe, but she had heard of the greatest sky god tribe and knew a thing or two about them. She had seen how much Qin Yun valued the extreme sky tribe Dharch, so she believed that Qin Yun was not mistaken. Then will he become your enemy? The great god king of the extreme sky tribe is one of the disciples of the great god king. I'm sure he wants your divine king heavenly seal, right? She lay on her side and suddenly leaned closer to Qin Yun. She wanted to be closer to him. All right, let's go. Previously, I heard that the two disciples of the great divine Lord both wanted to obtain my divine king heavenly seal. This way, the great and small divine kings would both be their master and disciple. However, that wasn't the case in the end. When Qin Yun said that, he extended his hand and gently stroked Bai Suxin's back. He recalled his battle with the great divine king and continued, later on, I met with the great divine king and realized that the great divine king wanted my divine king heavenly seal even more. I hope my disciple can obtain my godly monarch heavenly seal. Why? If the young and young divine kings are their master and disciple, it should be very good for him. Bai Suxin placed her hand on Qin Yun's chest and asked softly. Qin Yun gently grasped the soft hand that was caressing his chest and pressed it against his chest. He said, if the Sun Moon Tribe Emperor obtains my heaven seal, the Extreme Sky Tribe Emperor will definitely think of a way to snatch it away. These two disciples are bound to clash and fight to the death. In my opinion, the Dharch of the Pith Heaven clan will win in the end. If the great Heaven Tribe's Dharch obtains my Divine King's heavenly seal, he might become even stronger. Then the next step will be to steal his master's great Divine King's heavenly seal. The great Divine Lord saw this, so he wanted to obtain your heaven seal? Bai Suxin was a little shocked. She did not expect the great Divine Lord to be so wary of his own disciple. Yes, previously, when I was facing the great God King, the great God King of the very heaven race stood beside him and didn't say anything for his master. However, the one who used words to insult me was the Emperor of the Sun Moon Tribe. Qin Yun said. This great Emperor of the Pith Heaven Tribe is really scary. He even schemed against his own master. Bai Suxin suddenly became worried. She rested her face on Qin Yun's chest and whispered, Young Yun, you have to be careful when you face this sort of person in the future. Qin Yun caressed her face and said with a smile, I'm not even afraid of the great Divine King, why would I be afraid of him? You still dare to say that you're not afraid? Look at you now, your injuries haven't even healed yet. You were injured so badly just now, Bai Suxin said in a light huff. Although I was seriously injured, I exchanged it for the little queen's care for me these past few days. It made my life very sweet these past few days. The injury was worth it, Qin Yun said with a mischievous smile. Even if you weren't injured, I would still be yours. Bai Suxin chuckled and kissed Qin Yun. The two of them lived in a world of their own as they healed their wounds. If Great Divine Lord knew about this, he would definitely be so angry that his nose would become crooked, because Great Divine Lord's injuries were not light either. He did not dare to show his face right now, afraid that others would see his arm broken. Although the Great Divine Lord's arm was broken, it could still be regenerated. It just needed time and a large number of divine pills. Now, he is still trying his best to deny it, saying that his arm was not broken and that Qin Yun deliberately faked it. He absolutely cannot admit this kind of thing. Otherwise, he, the Great Divine Lord, would be looked down upon by many people. Even those big shots of the powerful races would look down on him. Previously, inside the four divine sons, because the Great Divine Lord was unable to take out the stone creation divine tool, he was looked down upon at that time. Qin Yun and Bai Suxin have been together for more than 10 days and his injuries have gradually recovered. He can't help but sigh at the might of the Sun and Moon Heart Sutra. I want to know the heavenly divine moon. I want to go find Sister Kiru and the others and ask them about the bloodline heavenly rune. I need to quickly become stronger. Bai Suxin walked out of the bath and slowly put on her clothes. Little Queen, that Queen Long Shu seems to be interested in you. You have to guard against her, Qin Yun warned with smile. What kind of interest could she have in me? Bai Suxin said with smile. Aren't you being too sensitive? I think she's the one who's interested in you. When you helped her carve runes, she didn't mind at all. Qin Yun curled his lips and said, She doesn't mind, that's because of you. I, Qin Yun, am very good at reading people. There are many women like her who like beauties in the heavenly divine moon, right? Indeed, your Yuelon is one of them, Bai Suxin said with smile. She hasn't been in the Guanghan Palace during this period of time, she hasn't had a lot of fun. Qin Yun also came out of the bath and put on his clothes. He hugged Bai Suxin and kissed her. Then they went to the heaven leaping shuttle. Now it is late at night, in half an hour it will be daybreak. And the heavenly divine moon is still very bright, hanging in the sky. I'm going back. Bai Suxin kissed Qin Yun's face and smiled sweetly. And, send my regards to Sister Kiru and the others. Qin Yun nodded and said with smile. It is unknown what Bai Suxin did, but the heavenly divine moon flickered and a strong light shone down on Bai Suxin's body. After the light disappeared, Bai Suxin also disappeared. Not long after, Qin Yun's devil mirror received news from Bai Suxin, saying that she has returned to the heavenly divine moon. Qin Yun's injuries have more or less recovered, and it has already been more than 10 days since the battle between him and the great divine king. The powerful clans of the Nine Sun Holy Land all came out one after another and occupied the territory of the heavenly divine desolate. They began to build their territory or search for resources everywhere. And those heaven-opening ancient race are not as high profile as the experts of the Nine Sun Holy Land. However, they also occupied many treasure lands or found many resources to secretly develop. Boss Qin, I've already obtained it. Yu Luanhui used the devil mirror to contact Qin Yun. So fast. Qin Yun is very surprised. Yu Luanhui promised Qin Yun that he would return to the Yu ancient race and obtain the secret method to make the Imperial Dragon Heavenly Talisman, Imperial Transformation Heavenly Talisman, Imperial Soul Heavenly Talisman and Imperial Poison Heavenly Talisman and then give it to Qin Yun. Although I don't have the reincarnation gate, they still don't dare to look down on me. So I got it very quickly, Yu Luanhui said with smile. He saw Qin Yun cut off one of the great divine king's arms and destroyed his heavenly divine sword on the magic mirror, so he is not too surprised. Before he fell into Qin Yun's hands, he also thought that Qin Yun was very easy to deal with. Only after fighting with Qin Yun did he realize how terrifying this guy is. Alright, I'll go find you now. Qin Yun has Yu Luanhui's soul-chasing talisman in his hand. He entered the heaven-leaping shuttle and immediately flew towards Yu Luanhui. The Imperial Heavenly Talisman is very difficult to make. Qin Yun can only use the Imperial Life Heavenly Talisman now. It is used for protection and defense. Chapter 2745. Yu Luanhui was in a small city built by the ancient Yu clan, but the people in the city didn't know that it was the ancient Yu clan that was managing it from behind the scenes. Small there was a heavenly flame treasure land near the city that produced a very useful fire liquid. That fire liquid could be used to strengthen flames. For example, it could be used in pill furnaces or smelting furnaces to refine pills and tools. In addition, those who cultivated the fire divine power could also absorb the divine power of this fire liquid. They could also use the fire liquid and special soil to make fire element fertilizer. The ancient Yu clan built this small city mainly to hire people to mine the fire liquid. This small city had already been mined, and it was Yu Luanhui's faction that was responsible for it. This could be considered Yu Luanhui's territory, but because he didn't have the reincarnation gate, the other factions of the Yu ancient clan wanted to invade his resources. Qin Wen Yun entered the city. Yu Luanhui told Qin Yun about his predicament through the magic mirror. He hoped that Qin Yun could help him think of a way to protect this heavenly flame treasure land. Qin Yun readily agreed, but he had to obtain the Yu clan heavenly talisman's secret method first. Arriving at the city, Yu Luanhui immediately welcomed Qin Yun into a small villa. Small there were many people in the villa. Some of them were from the Yu ancient clan. They were all Yu Luanhui's confidant. Qin Yun followed Yu Luanhui into a secret room. Yu Luanhui personally went to get some food and drinks and asked Qin Yun to wait for a while. At this time, Yu Yaoyao contacted Qin Yun. Qin Yun, what's going on with Yu Luanhui? Didn't you take him into the reincarnation gate? Why did he come out? Yu Yaoyao asked. She just learned from her father that Yu Luanhui didn't go through reincarnation and returned to the clan. Really? I don't know. I took him into the reincarnation gate, but I can't use it yet, Qin Yun said. He couldn't let the other people of the Yu ancient clan know that Yu Luanhui was his slave. Although he trusted Yu Yaoyao, he didn't tell her such an important thing. Then you should be careful. This guy will definitely take revenge. Not only him, there's also that Yu Wanlong, the great divine king. Yu Yaoyao warned. Yaoyao suddenly realized that her warning to Qin Yun was unnecessary because Qin Yun had never lacked enemies all these years. However, she was worried about Qin Yun, so she could not help but say a few words. I got it. Even if they don't come looking for me, I'll still go looking for them. Qin Yun said with a smile. Yaoyao, send my regards to young Kuan Peng. Young Kuan Peng? Are you thinking of abducting my Kuan Peng? Imperial Demon Yao said with a tender snort. Qin Yun said with smile. All right, I will go find Dai Xin after a period of time. I will call you when the time comes. Yu Yaoyao mumbled a few words before putting away the demonic mirror. Yu Samsara returned, holding a large basin of divine fruits, as well as a large jug of very fragrant and sweet fruit juice. This Qin Yun asked Yu Luanhui for it. It was mainly for Mo, Yang, and the others. Yang in order to eat the dragon peach. Yang and Mo worked hard to collect White God Yang's totem for Qin Yun. Yu Luanhui took out 4 large booklets and placed them on the ground. The 4 booklets all seem to be made of white jade. They are very large, they look like 4 rectangular boxes on the ground. Qin Yun said with frown. Why is it still such an outdated inheritance method? I thought it was the kind that could be directly read with mind and imprinted into memory. If that's the case, then we don't need to painstakingly study. Yu Luanhui said with bitter smile. These 4 thick booklets are placed on the ground, each one is more than a meter long, each page is a white jade piece. Jade, there are many runes carved on the piece, they are very complicated, and there are no words to explain them. Jade, the piece is very thin, it is only a bit thicker than paper. Each booklet has at least 1 or 2,000 pages, and each page has runes carved on both sides. This is not the original, it is a copy, but it is exactly the same as the original. Yu Luanhui said again. Boss Qin, originally my sect's inscription masters could make Imperial Heavenly Talisman, but they thought I was finished, so they all jumped to other sects. Yu Luanhui's reincarnation gate was snatched away by Qin Yun. His power also collapsed in an instant. There is no way to call them back? Qin Yun said with frown. You haven't grasped the method to make Imperial Heavenly Talisman? This is a very large project. How can one person completely grasp it? Yu Luanhui shook his head. Those inscription masters all painstakingly studied for many years to completely understand it and then made Imperial Heavenly Talisman. Then you didn't sign soul contract with them? How can they just leave like that? Qin Yun looked at the Imperial Heavenly Talisman booklet. They are all very strong inscription masters. I only have a cooperative relationship with them. We sign the soul contract every month. Yu Luanhui spread his hands and said, They don't want to renew the contract, so they all jumped ship. Qin Yun looked at the contents of the booklet. It is indeed very complicated, but he feels that it is not difficult to completely grasp it. He also doesn't know why it is like this. He always felt that it is very simple. After putting away the 4 booklets, he sat on a chair and asked, Did your ancient Yu clan have a bloodline heavenly pattern box before? Yes, our ancestors had it many years ago. As for what kind of box it is, I don't know. Yu Luanhui shook his head. It's about the clan emperor and the other elders, they know the box very well. You don't know? Qin Yun suddenly understood why Yu Luanhui wanted to obtain the bloodline heavenly pattern box. They don't want to tell me, it is a top secret to them. For many years, I used many methods but I couldn't get anything out of them. Yu Luanhui sighed. He is now very down and out, but he doesn't dare to blame Qin Yun. Qin Yun secretly suspects that there must be people with second-generation bloodline heavenly pattern in Yu ancient Yu clan, maybe even third or fourth generation. That is why they are so secretive. Not telling Yu Luanhui and the other factions without bloodline heavenly pattern inheritance is also very normal. The secret room suddenly trembled. Yu Luanhui cursed in low voice. Those bastards, don't tell me they want to rob my treasure land? I am here, don't be afraid. Qin Yun took out a mask and said, Let's go, bring me out to meet them. Yu Luanhui immediately opened the door and brought Qin Yun out. He said in low voice, Yu Wanlong wants to take over my property, so the people who came are probably dragon killers. Apart from black dragon killers, what other powerful killers does Yu Wanlong have? Qin Yun has a puppet made by black dragon killers. It is very strong. There are also thunder dragon killers, fire dragon killers and so on. I suspect that fire dragon killers are here to cause trouble. The fire liquid in my treasure land is very useful to them. Yu Luanhui said. Chapter 2746. Yu Luanhui's body had just been reborn and had become much younger. He was a middle-aged man, but his strength was still very weak. He would need some time to recover to his peak. But no matter what, he was able to come out of the reincarnation gate, or he would have been locked inside for many years. The upper echelons of the ancient clan knew that Yu Luanhui's power was gone. He was weak after his reborn body, and was easy to bully. Many of the resources that he had previously controlled were of high quality, and this treasure land was one of them. Yu Luanhui was still controlling the formation of the heavenly fire treasure ground and didn't allow anyone else to go in and mine the fire liquid. His properties and resources without the formation had long been taken by the other big shots of the ancient clan. In the ancient clan, the stronger one was, the more they got. Yuanlong naturally received quite a bit of it, but he wasn't satisfied. The fire liquid in this treasured land had many uses. Not only did the ancient Yu clan need it, but it would also fetch a high price if it was sold. Qin Yun had never seen the fire liquid, but she knew it was definitely valuable. Otherwise, Yuanlong wouldn't have torn off all pretenses to steal it. With Qin Yun as his backing, Yu Luanhui was a lot firmer now. After all, Qin Yun was an expert who could fight against a great divine king. There weren't many in the entire divine wilderness who dared to do so. When they came outside, they found that the gate of the small villa had been broken and the formation that covered the villa had been destroyed. This small villa's formation wasn't particularly powerful, but it wasn't that easy to break through it. Now that it was broken, it meant that the force that broke through the formation was very strong, and there were many of them. Outside the tattered door stood a dozen or so people, all dressed in fiery red robes. Their robes fluttered as if they were on fire. Each of them held a flaming dragon-head saber in their hands, and there was a fierce flaming dragon head in the middle of their belt. It was obvious that they were fire dragon assassins. He is the hall master of Yu Wanlong's Fire Dragon Hall. His name is Yu Huolong. He has half dragon blood in his body, and can transform into a half-dragon man. This guy's strength is not weak. He is also a 9-dragon head assassin. Yu Luanhui saw more than 10 assassins outside and immediately sent voice transmission to Qin Yun. Qin Yun could tell that Imperial Huolong was a tall young man. The huge dragon head blade in his hand was very eye-catching. It was bigger than the other dragon head blades of the other fire dragon killers, and there were 9 flickering dragon head carvings on the blade. The 9-dragon head assassin was also the hall master of the Fire Dragon Hall. Now that he had come personally, Yu Wanlong had mobilized a lot of his strength. Even if Yu Luanhui had the Gate of Reincarnation, it would still be a headache for him to deal with these fire dragon killers. Imperial Fire Dragon, what are you doing? Yu Luanhui shouted. Yu Luanhui, you don't even have the Gate of Reincarnation anymore, why are you still so arrogant? Let me tell you, we are here today to take over your heavenly flame treasure land. Imperial Fire Dragon proudly laughed. From now on, the heavenly flame treasure land belongs to the 10,000 dragon flaming dragon hall. Luanhui said angrily, this belongs to me, Yu Luanhui. Why does it belong to Yu Wanlong? Isn't it enough for him to rob so many of my businesses? Yu Luanhui, what are you talking about? They were all family. How could it be called snatching? As I said before, this is called taking over. Imperial Fire Dragon laughed and said, you're alone now. Elder Wan Long sent me to take over the Heavenly Flame Treasure Land to prevent it from being robbed by other clans. Aren't you going to thank us? Yu Luanhui was about to explode from anger. He had been shameless before, but at that time, he had the strength, so he could be shameless to those who were weak. Now that he was down and out, he finally understood how annoying he used to be. Yu Luanhui, get the F***CK out of here. Imperial Fire Dragon said. If you don't scram, you can only watch helplessly as we take over your heavenly flame paradise. You will be even more unhappy. Killing each other was forbidden in the ancient Yu clan, so Yu Huolong couldn't attack Yu Luanhui directly. But yes, some of his fire dragon assassins weren't from the ancient Yu clan, so they could take action. This was why Yu Wanlong wanted so many assassins. He wanted to use them to deal with situations like this. Imperial Fire Dragon, right? Qin Yun suddenly said. Kneel down and kowtow to Yu Luanhui 3 times as an apology, then I can let you crawl back with your dog life. Yu Huolong looked at the masked man behind Yu Luanhui. He couldn't sense how strong he was, so he laughed and said, Yu Luanhui, did you find a random idiot to keep up appearances? Doesn't he know how strong I am? Yu Luanhui sneered. Of course he doesn't know your strength, he doesn't need to know, this senior is very powerful. Hurry up and do as I say, otherwise you won't even have the chance to crawl back." Yu Huolong and his subordinates immediately laughed loudly. The small city was attacked, everyone already ran away, they were all scared away by Imperial Fire Dragon and his subordinate. And the people of this villa already knew that Imperial Fire Dragon wanted to take over, they immediately ran away when they saw him. Imperial Fire Dragon was the head of the Fire Dragon Assassins. The Fire Dragon Assassins were basically trained by Imperial Fire Dragon. Everyone was afraid of Imperial Fire Dragon. "You bastard, the one who should kneel is you." Imperial Fire Dragon laughed loudly, then rushed over and slashed at Qin Yun. Qin Yun stood there motionlessly. When Imperial Fire Dragon's large saber slashed down, it spewed out a powerful flame. But his saber and the energy released by the attack were all unable to hit Qin Yun's body. Actually, but all of them were blocked. Qin Yun put his hands behind his back, looked at Imperial Fire Dragon, and said coldly, "Are all the younger generation of you ancient clan at this level? You? Who are you?" Imperial Fire Dragon's saber was very strong, even the other elders of you ancient clan didn't dare to take it head-on. "You don't deserve to know who I am. It's too late for you to kneel now. None of you can run," Qin Yun said coldly. Imperial Fire Dragon shouted loudly, "No matter who you are, I will cut you into pieces." This time, Imperial Fire Dragon released his strongest divine power and fiercely slashed down. When the saber slashed, it was as if the roar of a fire dragon could be heard. The surging dragon power brought along a scorching and violent energy and slashed towards Qin Yun's head. Just even Yu Luanhui, who was next to him, was blown away by the energy. Small everything in the villa seemed to have been ignited, the surging flame engulfed the entire small city. No, not to mention, this Imperial Fire Dragon is indeed very dreadful. Qin Yun is also secretly shocked. There are actually many hidden experts of this kind in Yu ancient clan. Imperial Fire Dragon is an existence equivalent to Great Heaven War God. It is even stronger than those Great Heaven War Gods. However, Imperial Fire Dragon's saber can't do anything to Qin Yun. What shocked Imperial Fire Dragon is that a purple talisman is floating in front of Qin Yun. That talisman has an ancient Imperial character written on it. This character is formed by gathering runes. Chapter 2747. Yu Huolong was also a disciple of the Yu family. Since he could become the Hall Master of the Fiery Dragon Hall and was so powerful, he naturally knew about the heavenly talisman of the ancient Yu clan. The Divine Destiny Talisman was one of the powerful talismans that had been lost for a long time. Although he had never seen it before, he could guess that it was the Divine Destiny Talisman in Qin Yun's hand. Imperial Flaming Dragon's expression changed in fright. He immediately recalled Yu Luanhui mentioning Qin Yun as a senior. He couldn't help but associate Qin Yun with the missing ancestor of the Yu ancient clan. In the ancient Yu clan, because many of their ancestors had gone missing, more than half of the powerful Yu clan heavenly talismans were lost. The descendants of the ancient Yu clan had been searching for their ancestors for many years. Imperial Huolong recalled what Qin Yun had said, "Are all the descendants of the ancient Yu clan at this level?" This made Imperial Huolong even more certain that the masked man in front of him was an ancestor-level figure of the ancient Yu clan. Yu Luanhui was also frightened by Qin Yun's Imperial Life Heavenly Talisman, but he quickly calmed down. He is also an old fox. Naturally he could see that Imperial Fire Dragon treated Qin Yun as the Yu family's ancestor. At that moment, Yu Luanhui rolled his eyes and thought of many things. He wanted to make Imperial Fire Dragon believe him. Patriarch Imperial Life. Has the Divine Fate Talisman not been lost yet? This is great. I, Yu Luanhui, am able to see the Royal Life Heavenly Talisman in my lifetime. I can die without regrets. Yu Luanhui's eyes were brimming with hot tears. He looked ecstatic as he yelled. At this moment, the Imperial Fire Dragon did not dare to move at all. He stared at the purple talisman in shock. Although it looked like an ordinary talisman, it had managed to block his attack with all his might. It was clear how powerful the Imperial Life Talisman was. Fear filled Imperial Fire Dragon's entire body. After all, that was the ancestor of the Yu clan, and he was called the Imperial Life Ancestor. This meant that he was the inheritor of the Imperial Life Talisman, or even the creator. In front of an ancestor of this level, not to mention Imperial Fire Dragon, even Imperial Wanlong would have to kneel and kowtow. The other Fire Dragon assassins behind Imperial Fire Dragon saw their Hall Master's reaction and immediately thought of something. They had been in the Fire Dragon Hall for many years and had more or less heard about those lost heavenly talismans. The person who had the heavenly talisman was also Yu Luanhui's senior. It was obvious what was going on. After Imperial Fire Dragon calmed down, he knelt on the ground and hastily explained, "Ancestor, I didn't come here on my own accord. Elder 10,000 Dragons sent me here." If it was someone else, Yu Huolong wouldn't be afraid because he was also a disciple of the Yu ancient clan. His soul was immortal, so he wouldn't be afraid of anything. But in front of the Yu family's ancestor, Imperial Fire Dragon didn't dare to say that his soul wouldn't be destroyed. "Even if Yu Wanlong sent you here, is there a need for you to be so arrogant? No matter what, Yu Luanhui is your elder. Don't tell me that Yu Wanlong told you to be more arrogant when he sent you to snatch his treasured land?" Qin Yun was deliberately pretending. It was the old ancestor of the Yu family. This way, he didn't have to fight and could easily take care of the Imperial Fire Dragon and the dozen Fire Dragon killers. Yu Luanhui breathed a sigh of relief. He arrived beside Qin Yun and said in low voice, "Ancestor, this guy admitted his mistake, give him a chance. I told him to kneel down and apologize to you before, this is a chance." Qin Yun said coldly, "I gave him a chance, he didn't cherish it properly." Imperial Fire Dragon clenched his teeth. Although he is very afraid of Qin Yun, he is even more afraid of death in his heart. At this time, Qin Yun sensed that the divine power inside Imperial Fire Dragon's body suddenly increased. He knew that Imperial Fire Dragon is going to fight to the death. Imperial Fire Dragon, who was kneeling on the ground, lowered his head and tightly clenched his teeth. At the same time, he secretly used spirit transmission to communicate with the Fire Dragon killers behind him. Qin Yun can see that Imperial Fire Dragon is going to fight to the death. He suddenly stamped his foot and the earth shook, creating a berserk energy wave and vibration. The vibration wave attacked Imperial Fire Dragon's body and scattered the condensed divine power inside his body. At this time, the group of Fire Dragon killers rushed at Qin Yun together. Qin Yun already expected this. He suddenly released a blue mushroom. It is the Inscription Fungus Queen. After the Inscription Fungus Queen was released, it turned into a huge net and enveloped Imperial Fire Dragon and those Fire Dragon killers. This Inscription Fungus Queen was formed because of the Heavenly Universe origin body. It is a mysterious and powerful heavenly rune spirit body. Inside the Nine Sun Divine Soul, it got along very well with Yang Yang Momo and the others and obtained Momo's help to upgrade runes. In addition, the Inscription Fungus Queen can absorb a large amount of Divine Sun's divine power. It is also constantly cultivating. The Inscription Fungus Queen turned into a huge net and enveloped down. It is like a very powerful seal. After Imperial Fire Dragon and those Fire Dragon killers were sealed, they are constantly struggling. Imperial Fire Dragon is after all a 9-dragon killer. Its strength is also very valiant. It is frantically struggling with other Fire Dragon killers. If this continues, the seal formed by the Inscription Fungus Queen might be torn apart. Yu Luanhui is dumbfounded watching from behind. He only feels that those big shots of Divine Desolate, no matter who it is, they all know too little about Qin Yun. Because Qin Yun casually released the net and subdued Imperial Fire Dragon and those Fire Dragon killers. Even if Yu Luan Hui was at his peak, he would not be able to do this. The other old people of Yu ancient clan would find it very difficult to do this. The information Yu Luan Hui gathered before did not mention the blue mushroom and this net. Qin Yun took out the Heavenly Lion Dragon Suppressing Cauldron. Through the Divine Cauldron and Heavenly Lion Dao image, the Heavenly Lion Dragon Suppressing Cauldron suddenly turned blue and let out lion roars. Go in. Qin Yun turned the huge Heavenly Lion Dragon Suppressing Cauldron upside down and covered Imperial Fire Dragon and those Fire Dragon killers. The net formed by the inscription Fungus Queen is like a liquid that quickly flowed and converged together. Finally it turned into a blue mushroom and was put away by Qin Yun. After Imperial Fire Dragon and the others were taken into the Heavenly Lion Dragon Suppressing Cauldron, Qin Yun pressed his hands on the outside of the Heavenly Lion Dragon Suppressing Cauldron and sent his Imperial Heaven Divine Power inside. It turned into berserk divine power, thunder and lightning that crazily bombarded the inside of the cauldron. The Heavenly Lion Dragon Suppressing Cauldron kept shaking, the miserable roars of Imperial Fire Dragon and the others came out. Finally, they could not endure the torture and gave up their bodies. Their souls flew out of the cauldron, wanting to escape. However, Qin Yun already released the Reincarnation Gate. The souls that flew out of the Heavenly Lion Dragon Suppressing Cauldron were all devoured by the Reincarnation Gate. When Yu Luan Hui saw his Reincarnation Gate being used by Qin Yun, he felt extremely regretful in his heart. At this moment, he doesn't even dare to think about taking it back. Chapter 2748. Yu Luan Hui wanted to find a powerful force to cooperate with so that he wouldn't suffer any losses and would have a steady stream of income in the future, but he couldn't find one. Right now, he was being bullied badly in the ancient Yu clan. He didn't have the strength, and his subordinates had all gone their separate ways. He simply couldn't find a reliable big force to cooperate with. Even if he found one, he would definitely be ruthlessly slaughtered. Moreover, those powerful forces might even be persuaded to retreat by Yu Wanlong. Although Yu Wanlong wasn't the ruler of the ancient Yu clan, he had the Imperial Dragon Talisman and was welcomed by many big shots. Mr. Qin, which force are you looking for to cooperate with me? Yu Luan Hui asked. If we succeed, I only want half of the profits and I'll give you the other half. Qin Yun said, what do you think of the Sun Dragon race? Although the Sun Dragon race has already joined the All Heavens Dragon race, and the Sun Dragon Emperor has also become the Sun Dragon King, the entire Sun Dragon race is very independent and will not be controlled by the All Heavens Dragon race. But the Imperial Dragon Talisman in Yu Wanlong's hands is the bane of the Dragon race. I'm worried that Yu Wanlong will clash with the Sun Dragon clan because of this. Yu Luan Hui said. Don't worry. After the unification of the Dragon race, Yu Wanlong doesn't dare to go against the entire All Heavens Dragon race. Qin Yun said with smile. This Yu Wanlong is not stupid, maybe he doesn't even dare to use the Imperial Dragon Heavenly Talisman for the time being. That's true, then we can try contacting the Sun Dragon clan, I'll talk to them. Yu Luan Hui nodded. However, this Yu Wanlong is definitely ambitious. He has the Imperial Dragon Heavenly Talisman. If he can control the Dragon race's upper echelon, he can enslave the entire Dragon race. With formidable power, he can do whatever he wants. Qin Yun said. Tell our dragon friends. Qin Yun has many friends in the Dragon race. For example, Long Shu, Monkey King, Sun Dragon race's Long Tianyan, 9 Yang Dragon races Long Tianyan and 9 Yang Divine Palaces Dragon Hall. This can suppress Yu Wanlong's arrogance. If the All Heavens Dragon clan really cares about this, they might even kill Yu Wanlong in secret. Yu Luan Hui showed a rare smile. Qin Yun took out the magic mirror and contacted the Sun Dragon race's Yang Dragon Lingyu. Elder Lingyu, I have business to introduce to you. Qin Yun sent a message and briefly explained the matter of Heavenly Fire Treasure Land. Many of the Sun Dragon clan's dragons cultivated fire, and the Heavenly Fire Treasure Land was of great value to them. There were definitely many fire dragons in the All Heavens Dragon clan. Even if they weren't fire dragons, there would definitely be many Dragon clan members who cultivated fire divine power or used powerful flames. If young dragon Ling Yu took it over, as long as he sold it to the All Heavens Dragon race, there would be a huge market for it, and he could exchange it for a large amount of Divine Universe Goldstones. After Yang Long Ling Yu found out, he was also very happy. Moreover, he had also heard of the Heavenly Fire Treasured Land. He was shocked to learn that Qin Yun and Yu Luan Hui were together, and even helped Yu Luan Hui to cooperate. Ling 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 of thing and he to not to tell. By Ling of this, to work. In Ling Ling of Qin to find in. Because everyone knows that Qin Yun took away Yu Luan Hui's reincarnation gate. Now that Qin Yun is helping Yu Luan Hui, it means that Yu Luan Hui has been subdued. Ling Yu would never tell anyone about this. This is also the reason why Qin Yun wanted to work with him, because Ling Yu can make Qin Yun trust him very much. Take me to Heavenly Fire Treasure Land. Qin Yun opened his heavenly eye and looked at the Heavenly Fire Treasure Land. He saw a very strong fire divine power soar up to the sky. It is like a huge fire dragon. It is very spectacular. Of course, this can only be seen with heavenly eye. Seeing the aura of Heavenly Fire Treasure Land, Qin Yun knew that this place is not simple. This kind of aura can penetrate through the barrier. Is there something hidden inside? Qin Yun's mind stirred. Treasure lands like this usually have powerful treasures or beasts. Yu Luan Hui excitedly brought Qin Yun to Heavenly Fire Treasure Land. There are many mountains in Heavenly Fire Treasure Land, but they are all barren. There are no trees, flowers, or grass. The mountain rocks and ground are all fiery red and emitting waves of heat. Those huge mountains are also volcanoes. The crater of the volcanoes is very big. It is as if a huge fire dragon can come out at any time. There is a large amount of golden red flame floating in the crater. It looks like a huge lake at the top of the mountains. That is the fire liquid. The fire liquid here is very powerful. Ordinary storage magic tools can't withstand this kind of flame. Yu Luan Hui said. Qin Yun saw that there is so much fire liquid, it seems like it is inexhaustible. He curiously asked, when someone needs it, we bring them in to get it. We charge them according to the number of days. Yu Luan Hui said, I invested a lot of money to build this barrier. I still haven't recovered the cost of building this barrier. Qin Yun nodded and said, the barrier is indeed very strong, but it is still a bit lacking. Yu Luan Hui knows that Qin Yun is a saint inscription master. Moreover, he is a very peak-level saint inscription master. He promptly asked, what is the difference? It is enough to defend the outside but not enough to defend the inside. If the barrier is attacked from the inside, it will be very easy to break. If Yu Wanlong sends people to pretend to come in to get the fire liquid, then after they enter, they will break the barrier from the inside. What will you do? What will you do? Yu Luan Hui repeatedly nodded. Not only Yu Luan Hui, other people who covet the fire liquid will also do the same. But you don't need to worry now, Sun Dragon Race will help you strengthen it. Qin Yun is still opening his heavenly eye and constantly looking ahead. He wants to find something. Boss Qin, where did you get the Imperial Life, Heavenly Talisman? Yu Luan Hui finally can't help but ask. He felt that he and Qin Yun are already familiar with each other, that's why he dared to ask. I got it from a palace in ancient Desolate. Have you ever heard of a mysterious and powerful palace in ancient Desolate? Qin Yun asked. This. I have never heard of it. Ancient Desolate is a very mysterious place. It is very difficult to go there now. I don't know what happened inside. I also don't know who did it. Yu Luan Hui said. I heard from the law enforcement realm that they can't leave Ancient Desolate even if they want to. The fellows from the ancient desolation that the realms sent to the ancient desolation are unable to leave even if they wanted to, and they are also unable to send anyone to the ancient desolation. The law enforcement realm lost control of ancient desolate. It means that the 10-star anti-heaven thief heaven extermination is no longer afraid of being hunted down by the law enforcement great venerables. Qin Yun said, "Ancient desolate is indeed mysterious. I wonder if there are even stronger people there? His parents are in ancient desolate. He always wanted to go there to find them." Chapter 2749. Yuluanhui shook his head and then sank into his memories. Clearly, he also found it strange. Qin Yun is not in a hurry to ask him. He let him think about it carefully. After a while, Yuluanhui said, "Those inscription masters all said that the terrain of Heavenly Fire Treasure Land is not very good. Even though it is a treasure land, it is filled with great ominous aura. But I have wandered around here for a long time and found nothing. Right double quotation mark. Great ominous aura?" Qin Yun opened his heavenly eye and looked even more carefully. His Imperial Heaven Divine Art has the luck viewing technique. He can see luck. Not only can he see people, he can also see the land. No matter how he looks, he cannot see any ominous aura. Instead, he can see that the entire Heavenly Fire Treasure Land is spewing out divine power. It is like a fire dragon rushing to the sky. "What did those inscription masters say?" Qin Yun asked. "They all said that it is very uneasy here. They are all very powerful inscription masters. Their mental power is very strong. It is not strange that they can feel it." Yuluanhui said, "If it is one or two of them saying this, then it is fine. But most of them say this." That was what all the inscription masters said. Qin Yun said with frown, "This Heavenly Fire Treasure Land is indeed a bit strange, but it does not seem to be a great ominous aura." "Ah? Then what is strange?" Yuluanhui said in shock. He previously suspected that those inscription masters were lying to him so that he would give up on this Heavenly Fire Treasure Land. "I don't know." Qin Yun shook his head. "I will look around first." In short, since Heavenly Fire Treasure Land is a treasure land, it is not as simple as just fire liquid. Yuluanhui nodded. "If there is truly danger, we must inform the Sun Dragon race. This kind of fire liquid is very strong and it can be produced continuously. We need to find the source." Qin Yun pointed at the fire liquid flowing down from the volcano below. The fire liquid is gradually converging and will form many big and small rivers and streams in the future. I also wanted to find the source, but this place is too big and my ability is limited. So I wandered around for a while and then gave up. Yuluanhui sighed. "I was the first to discover this treasure land. I used the fastest speed to call a group of inscription masters. I built a powerful barrier, but I know nothing about Heavenly Fire Treasure Land. Yang Yang and Mo have already come out from the White God Sunday. Next, Mo is busy organizing the White God Sun totem she obtained. Therefore, Yang Yang was leisurely eating fruit." Qin Yun called Yang Yang out. This little girl's perception is very strong, and she can always sense things that Qin Yun can't. Yang Yang was eating a huge green divine fruit. There was a lot of moisture in it, and it looked very fragrant and sweet. Seeing this cute little girl in a red dress, Yuluanhui was slightly surprised and asked, "Boss Qin, this is my little sister, Yang Yang." Qin Yun patted Yang Yang's head and said with smile, "Yang Yang, quickly take a look and see if there is anything wrong here." As Yang Yang ate the fruit, she opened her big and cute eyes and looked around. "Oh no!" Yang Yang quickly swallowed the fruit in his mouth and said, "Big brother, there are a lot of fire people in this place." "Fireman?" Qin Yun was stunned, but what I saw was the shadow of a fire dragon. A very powerful race is about to be born here, and the guardian beast of this race is a fire dragon. Yang Yang said. Yuluanhui is secretly apprehensive. He only feels that Qin Yun's little sister is very awesome, she can actually see through so many things. Then do you think it will affect obtaining fire liquid here? Qin Yun asked. That will depend on how we get along with these fire people, Yang Yang said. Although they are fire people, they will not necessarily be very violent. If you respect a race that just appeared, then they will most likely respect you. Qin Yun wants to see what kind of powerful race this is. It was actually born in this kind of environment. Not long after, Yang Longling arrived. After he saw Yang Yang, he jumped in fright and hastily said, "Hello, little ancestor." "Hello, uncle, do you have any delicious fruits?" Yang Yang said with sweet smile. "Yes, yes, yes." Yang Longling immediately took out a large pile of fruits and handed them over to Yang Yang. "Thank you, uncle." After Yang Yang received those divine fruits, she became very happy and said with smile, "This is the taste of home." Yang Longling, you can naturally see that Yang Yang is formed from a powerful sun spirit. She is indeed their sun dragon race's little ancestor. Yang Yang is in a hurry to return to the 9 sun divine soul. She wants to share this delicious fruit with her companions. Yu Luanhui and Yang Longling exchanged greetings for a while. They didn't immediately talk about cooperation, but instead talked about the clan that was about to be born under the sky fire treasured land. Qin Yun said, "Elder Lingyu, you are from the Sun Dragon race. You should be able to communicate with the other races in the Divine Desolate, right?" The Sun Dragon race that came from ancestor god Sun could be said to have an extremely high status. After all, they were created by ancestor god Sunday. Of course we can. The main thing is that it's not those evil races. We can have friendly dealings with them. Yang Longling said. Then, when will the sky fire treasured land be born? Yu Luanhui was a little worried. He was worried that he would lose the benefits of sky fire treasured land. It might have already been born. It's underground and hasn't come out yet. Yang Longling said with a smile, after this kind of powerful race is born, they will usually hide for a period of time. Only when they are strong enough will they come out to walk. All of them are like the dragons of the heavens. Qin Yun said, "How about we pay them a visit?" Boss Qin, normally, when a race appears in the God's Desolate as the Godly King, you can use the Godly King Heavenly Seal to summon them. Yang Longling said, "Of course, it's impossible for the All Heavens Dragon race. The All Heavens Dragon Emperor's family. This guy is very ambitious." Qin Yun never expected that his God King Heavenly Seal would have such an effect. He immediately took out his Heavenly Seal. Most of the powerful clans that were born in the Divine Desolate during this period of time have inherited memories from the 9 Yang Law Spirit. They know who the Divine King is. Yang Longling said again. Qin Yun poured his divine power into the Divine King Heavenly Seal and let it release formidable energy. Not long after, the lake of lava at the top of a huge volcano below began to churn. "It's about to erupt," Yu Luanhui shouted in shock. "It should be that strong race coming out to see the Divine King." Yang Longling said, "I wonder if they recognize you as the Divine King." Chapter 2750. Qin Yun is not afraid, he is just worried. If this powerful race doesn't recognize him and even resist him, then wouldn't he have to fight with this newly born race? Although he is called Little Divine King, he himself does not like being called Little Divine King. In Qin Yun's opinion, his Divine King Heavenly Seal is not any weaker than the Great Divine King Heavenly Seal. But now in the Divine Desolate, many powerful races only recognize the Great Divine King. Even though he fought with the Great Divine King before and injured him quite a bit, the Great Divine King's prestige is still there. Qin Yun channeled his divine power into the Divine King Heavenly Seal and called out to the creatures of the heavenly fire treasured land in his heart, hoping that they would appear on the surface to talk to him. Most of the volcanoes below are now boiling. The fire liquid has many huge bubbles, causing the temperature of the entire heavenly fire-treasured land to rapidly rise. Are they coming out? Yuluan knows that there is a powerful race here. How could he dare to think of any benefits? It seems like they are very deep down, so it will take some time for them to come out. Yang Long Lingyu nodded. Qin Yun took off his mask and looked at the volcanoes below with a serious expression. If a powerful race appeared and wanted to snatch his divine king heavenly seal, he would attack without hesitation. Bang bang bang! The volcano issued a strange loud sound, then the entire volcano violently trembled. The boiling fire liquid at the volcano's crater suddenly rushed up to the sky. A large amount of fire liquid continuously gushed out from the volcano's crater. It is like tens of thousands of fountains violently erupting at the same time. There are many volcanoes within the heavenly fire-treasured land. Now that they are erupting at the same time, a large amount of fire liquid surged out like a fountain. Some of the fire liquid even reached a height of tens of thousands of feet. The entire heavenly fire-treasured land is pouring down a torrential rain of fire liquid. It is spectacular and terrifying. All kinds of rising hot energy and divine power collided within the heavenly fire-treasured land, releasing waves of flame and lightning that converged into a gale. A large amount of fire liquid descended from the sky and wreaked havoc within the heavenly fire-treasured land along with the gale. In just a short moment, the heavenly fire-treasured land was enveloped by a storm formed by violent fire liquid. There are also several incomparably huge fire liquid tornadoes roaring fiercely above the heavenly fire-treasured land. Seeing this scene, Qin Yun's expression became even more grave. At the same time, he realized that this heavenly flame-treasured land was not dead, but alive. The treasured land of the heavenly flame cracked open amidst the violent tremors. The fiery liquid flowed on the entire surface of the treasured land, entering into countless large and small ravines, forming countless rivers and streams. In the end, they transformed into a great formation. Qin Yun had heard from Humei that the Heaven Fox mountain range had a similar formation. However, it was not a fire liquid, but it was more or less the same. Yang Long Lingyu exclaimed, "This is quite a commotion. It will definitely alarm a lot of big shots." Yuluan was worried that the ancient Yu clan would know that he was with Qin Yun, so he immediately disguised himself and followed behind Yang Long Lingyu. Powerful forces like the Great Divine Lord, the ancient Yu clan, and the Sun Moon Divine Clan all possessed Dharma treasures for teleportation. The commotion here was so great that it even caused the myriad worlds' divine sun in the sky to fluctuate. Once those powerful clans sensed it, they would definitely rush over immediately. The birth of a powerful race was always earth-shattering. Although the commotion of the heavenly flame-treasured land's powerful race was not as great as the heavenly dragon clans, it was still not small. Yu Shangyun immediately contacted Qin Yun and asked, "Qin Yun, a large fluctuation of divine power has appeared in the divine desolate. Furthermore, there is the participation of the myriad worlds' divine sun's divine power. This phenomenon seems to be the birth of a powerful race." "I know, I'm at the scene," Qin Yun said. "I'll go immediately." Yu Shangyun also wanted to go after knowing that Qin Yun was there. "No need, you don't need to come over," Qin Yun said. "With the Sun Dragon clan here, those guys won't dare to act recklessly." Yu Shangyun said, "The Divine Judge and the others are watching the Great Divine Lord and the others. The Divine Judge just told me that the Great Divine Lord did not take action, but he will definitely send people over." "Got it." Qin Yun is not afraid of the Great Divine Lord because the Great Divine Lord's vitality was greatly injured before. His recovery speed is not as fast as his, and he even lost the myriad heaven divine sword. In a short period of time, he would not dare to fight against Qin Yun. Yang Long Lingyu is also contacting the boss of the Sun Dragon race and the Heavenly Dragon race, telling them that he is here to deal with it. Everyone is paying attention to this powerful race that is about to come into being. However, there are not many powerhouses coming over. After all, this is not a powerful race like the Heavenly Dragon race. At most, they would only send their elders over to take a look at the situation. The Divine Judge contacted Qin Yun through the magic mirror and asked, "Boss Qin, are you at the scene? The Law Enforcement Realm and the Great Divine Lord have joined hands to form a Heavenly Court." Heavenly Court? Where did they build it? What kind of powerful race are involved? Qin Yun asked. It's at the original Divine Court City. They occupied our original Divine Court City and now it's changed to Heavenly Court City. The main reason they built the Heavenly Court in the city is to replace our Myriad Realms Divine Court. The Divine Judge sighed. My current Heavenly Divine Punishment flag has been lost. My dignity has also suffered a great blow. After I finish dealing with the Heavenly Flame Treasured Land, I'll go find you and think of a way to help you restore the power of the Heavenly Divine Punishment flag. Qin Yun said. The Heavenly Court has already sent people to the Heavenly Flame Treasured Land. This time they are using the Heavenly Court's banner. They should be trying to rope in that powerful race to join the Heavenly Court. The Divine Judge said. I won't let them succeed. Qin Yun held the Divine King Heavenly Seal and said coldly, What Heavenly Court? Don't even think about causing trouble in the Divine Desolate. The Heavenly Flame Treasured Land is currently undergoing a great tribulation, but it is actually undergoing transformation. And this transformation power seems to be coming from the Myriad Realms Divine Sun. Qin Yun suspects that the Nine Sun Goddess came here a long time ago to place the formation materials. When the time is ripe, the Myriad Realms Divine Sun will be able to trigger the mechanism formation that the Nine Sun Goddess set up here and transform the Earth into a powerful and safe treasure land. From time to time, Yuluan Hui would pay attention to the great formation he set up. Those formation pillars are still there. This made him feel a lot better. If those formation pillars were destroyed, he would die of heartache. After the Heavenly Flame Treasured Land went crazy, it gradually calmed down. The 5 Myriad Realms Divine Suns shone down a strange multicolored light. A large group of birds flew over from an unknown place and circled above the Heavenly Flame Treasured Land. Then they dropped a large number of seeds and landed on the desolate mountain area of the Heavenly Flame Treasured Land. They are sowing seeds. Could it be that flowers, plants and trees can be grown in this kind of place? Yang Long Lingyu said in shock. Chapter 2751. The transformation of the Heavenly Fire Treasured Land is very fast. Flocks of birds flew over and scattered a large amount of seeds. When they fell into the soil, they immediately took root and germinated. Very quickly, small seedlings of flowers, plants and trees grew. 5. The multicolored light from the Myriad Realms Divine Sun contains a strange divine power. When it shone on the ground, it made the seeds grow very quickly. Qin Yun also discovered that this divine power is only effective on these seeds. It has no effect on other seeds. Only in just a short period of more than 2 hours, the originally desolate Heavenly Fire Treasured Land has now grown many large trees. All kinds of flowers, plants and trees have grown very luxuriantly. This scene caused Qin Yun and Yang Long Lingyu to be very shocked. All of this happened too quickly. This means that the divine power of the Myriad Realms Divine Sun is very powerful. Yuluan Hui was the first person to discover and manage this Heavenly Fire Treasured Land. Now, he doesn't even recognize the entire Heavenly Fire Treasured Land. Boss Qin, is it because you took out the Divine King Heavenly Seal that this sudden change happened? Yuluan Hui asked. Before Qin Yun took out the Divine King Heavenly Seal, the Heavenly Fire Treasured Land was filled with death energy. I don't know. Qin Yun also felt that it is very strange. He never thought that his Divine King Heavenly Seal would have this kind of effect. Dense dark green forest appeared in the heavenly fire-treasured land. At the same time, there are many golden red rivers and rivers flowing with fire liquid. Not only did the fire liquid not cause the forest to be ignited, it also nourished the flowers and trees here. Heavenly fire-treasured lands races still haven't appeared? Qin Yun looked at the sky and said, "The multicolored light from the myriad realms' divine sun is still continuing. Just now, it should have strengthened the strong races here, right?" Long Lingyu closed his eyes and said, "I'll go sense it." While he was trying to sense it, he suddenly felt a wave of fluctuation. "Someone is attacking my barrier." Yuluanhui is holding a token in his hand. This token is used to control the barrier of the heavenly fire-treasured land. Such a huge change happened to the heavenly fire-treasured land just now, but it did not damage the barrier that Yuluanhui spent a lot of effort to set up. But seeing the heavenly fire-treasured land, it knew that the barrier has a protective effect. If your barrier is broken, the heavenly fire-treasured land will also have a barrier to defend itself. Qin Yun said, "Then should I stop the barrier and let them come in?" Yuluanhui held the token in his hand. He can't make a decision. Qin Yun looked at the sky. The 5 myriad realms' divine suns were still releasing powerful multicolored light. They shone down and enveloped the entire heavenly fire-treasured land. This meant that the heavenly flame paradise had yet to fully mature. "No need, let those guys continue attacking. Wait until they break the barrier," Qin Yun said. "If they come in, they will definitely cause trouble everywhere." Not long after, Yang Long Lingyu opened his eyes and said, "I sense some movement. Could those volcanic craters below be the residences of those powerful races?" Qin Yun saw that the fire liquid at the volcanic crater had already solidified into fiery red crystals. There were many volcanic craters here. If they were all the residences of that powerful clan in Heavenly Flame Precious Land, then there would definitely be many creatures born here. "Yes, we are going to the biggest volcano." Yang Long Lingyu asked, "Do you know which volcano is the biggest?" Yun looked at Yuluanhui. "Follow me." Yuluanhui flew in front. He had explored this heavenly fire treasure land before and had circled it several times. Naturally, he knew the situation of the volcanoes here. While they were heading towards the largest volcano, they could sense fluctuations coming from their surroundings from time to time. Those fluctuations were clearly the result of someone attacking the barrier. "Let those guys torment themselves," Yang Long Lingyu said with smile. "With their strength, it shouldn't be difficult for them to come in." Qin Yun said, "If they come in, I wonder how they will treat that powerful race that is about to come into being. This is the territory of that powerful race. If they dare to be arrogant here, then they are courting death," Yang Long Lingyu said with smile. Half an hour later, Yuluanhui brought Qin Yun and Yang Long Lingyu to the sky above a huge mountain. This huge mountain is also filled with many dark green trees. Under the trees there are also dense flowers and plants. They are full of vitality, and there is even a burst of beautiful flower fragrance. "Is this the power of nature?" Yang Long Lingyu said with emotion. Boom! Only loud sound came from the sky, at the same time accompanied by a spatial fluctuation. "Not bad, these guys actually broke through the space and came in." Yang Long Lingyu looked at the direction of the spatial fluctuation and saw a spatial crack. Only a group of people majestically flew out from the spatial crack. After they entered, they immediately locked onto Qin Yun and Yang Long Lingyu. Qin Yun, an old man and a young man, cried out involuntarily. Qin Yun did not change his appearance, nor did he disguise himself. His handsome face is also very easy to recognize. Moreover, he had left an indelible shadow on many people. His face has long been deeply imprinted in those people's souls. It is very difficult to forget him. Qin Yun is somewhat surprised. There are more than 100 people here, and there are indeed enemies that he knows. One of them is the 18th sect leader of the law enforcement world, Lung Quan Kuan. The other young man is Yin Tianyi of the great Yin divine race. In addition, there are also the children of the great heaven divine race's emperor, Ling Taiyun and Ling Daixin, as well as great elder Ling. This group of people can be said to represent the great divine lord and the law enforcement world. And the great divine lord and the law enforcement world jointly established the heavenly court. This time, they might have come in the name of the heavenly court. There is an old man and a middle-aged man beside Tianyi. They should be his elders, and their status in the great Yin divine race is not low. When Lung Quan Kuan was outside the heaven's mandate sacred land, his body was destroyed by Qin Yun and Yu Shang Yun. Now, he has obtained a powerful body. Yin Tianyi had also been tricked by Qin Yun a few times, so the two of them hated Qin Yun to the bone. When they saw Qin Yun from afar, they shouted loudly. Although their shouts were filled with anger and surprise, they looked like they wanted to swallow Qin Yun alive and kill him at any time. However, their hearts were filled with fear, and they did not dare to go over. The shadow that Qin Yun had left on them was hard to erase. Furthermore, Qin Yun had fought with the great divine lord not long ago. The great divine lord's arm had been cut off by Qin Yun, and the myriad heaven's divine sword had been broken. However, Qin Yun looked completely fine at this moment. The great divine lord had repeatedly emphasized on the magic mirror that Qin Yun would not be able to recover for at least 8 to 10 years after being injured. Many people firmly believed this, not to mention the people from the great Yin divine race and the law enforcement world. So it's you guys. It's good that your souls are not destroyed. Once you have a new body, you can be destroyed by me again. Qin Yun laughed out loud and said, "To be honest, it's quite satisfying for me to repeatedly destroy your bodies." Tianyi and Lin Quan Kuan gritted their teeth in hatred. However, they could not do anything to Qin Yun. If they recklessly charged over, they might be beaten to death again. Their souls were indestructible, but every time their bodies were destroyed, it would cause them great pain and fear. Such as Chapter 2752. Not only was Yin Tianyi's body destroyed by Qin Yun, he was also tricked by Qin Yun to drink the Heaven's Fate Dragon Lake's water and gave birth to a little monster. This kind of trauma is even more terrible. Also, they all know that Qin Yun has a thing in his hands that can make people give birth to monsters after being injected into their bodies. Previously, he made people give birth to dragon bees and dragon ants. They are all very scary things. In their eyes, Qin Yun is an evil old thief. Qin Yun also noticed that there is an acquaintance here. It is Xian Huazhan, the great Yin war god of the great Yin divine race. His father Xian Zhangkuan was forced to give Qin Yun a great Yin bloodline heavenly rune. Yang Long Lingyu said, "A new race has been born. My son Dragon Race received the 9 Yang Law Spirits notice and sent me here." 9 Yang Law Spirit? The 9 Yang Law Spirit rarely cares about this kind of thing, right? Generally speaking, this kind of thing is handed over to the Great Divine King to handle. Great the Divine King and the law enforcement realm established the Heavenly Court. We are now members of the Heavenly Court. It is the Great Divine King who instructed us to take charge. An old man said. Looking at his bearing, he is the law enforcement Great Venerable. His rank is much higher than Ling Chuankuan and the other 18 sect masters. Elder Lingyu, there is no need for your son Dragon Race here. You can go back. Let us handle the reception and arrangement of this new race's integration into the Divine Desolate. The old man saw Yang Long Lingyu's dissatisfied expression and said, I am the law enforcement realm's Grand Venerable Starfire, now the Heavenly Court's Divine General Starfire. Ling Chuankuan shouted, Yang Long Lingyu, that young Divine King doesn't have any power. The 9 Yang Law Spirits said that his main responsibility in the Divine Desolate is to take care of rats, chickens, ducks, cows, sheep, dogs and other low-level beasts. Grand Venerable Starfire laughed loudly and said, "After all, he is the young divine king. This kind of work is very suitable for him. Receiving this kind of powerful race is the great divine king's job." Yang Longling looked at Qin Yun and asked for his opinion. He believes that Qin Yun is the true great divine king. Just now, it was Qin Yun's divine king heavenly seal that caused the heavenly flame-blessed land to change. Clearly, Qin Yun communicated with the myriad realms' divine sun and had it transform the heavenly flame-blessed land. Alright then, I'll leave it to you. I will also take this opportunity to learn how you deal with these matters. Qin Yun laughed and said, "Then I will trouble you." Qin Yun really wanted to see what kind of tricks the heavenly court could come up with. The divine palace of the myriad realms had always been helping the various powerful races to integrate into the divine wilderness and making them agree to follow the rules set by the divine court of the myriad realms. Now that the great divine lord and the law enforcement realm had established the heavenly court, it was unknown what they were plotting. Qin Yun and Yang Longling moved to the side with Yu Luanhui, allowing the group of people to come to the sky above the largest volcano. Qin Yun took out the magic mirror and secretly contacted Dai Xian. "Princess Dai Xian, are you also from the heavenly court?" "I'm not. I came here with my elders to take a look," Ling Daixin replied. She is still very enthusiastic. After all, her mission now is to have a good relationship with Qin Yun. Ling Dai Xian was dressed very simply. She was wearing a pale white dress, and her hair was casually tied up. However, she looked elegant and beautiful like this. This time, she is going on a blind date, so she dressed very luxuriously and gorgeously, but she is also very beautiful. Just as everyone was waiting for the appearance of the new powerful race, Great Elder Ling suddenly said angrily to Qin Yun, "Qin Yun, you evil disciple, you slept with my Ling family's daughter and then left. If you are a man, you should be responsible to the end. If you can't even take responsibility for a woman, then you are not worthy to be the divine king." Ling Dai Xian can't help but roll her eyes. She never expected that this great elder would actually do this. She had already repeatedly warned him to leave everything to her. "Qin Yun, my sister is already yours. You must treat her well. Otherwise, I, Ling Taiyun, will not let you off even if I die." Ling Taiyun said coldly, "Dai Xian, go." As Great Elder Ling spoke, he gently pushed, releasing a gentle palm wind that accurately pushed Ling Daixin to the front of Qin Yun. This scene caused the people from the heavenly court to secretly grit their teeth. Because Ling Daixin is truly a very good beauty. And the great heaven god race's Ling family actually forcefully pushed such a beauty over to Qin Yun. It is very clear that they do not want Ling Daixin to stay in the Ling family and waste their resources. Qin Yun definitely has a lot of resources in his hands, and he also has a lot of good things. If Ling Daixin is by his side, he will definitely not suffer a loss. Dai Xian and I are innocent. I only wanted to help her out that day," Qin Yun said loudly. "This is also Dai Xian's request. I don't care. In any case, from that night onwards, everyone thinks that Dai Xian is your woman," Great Elder Ling shouted. He felt a lot more at ease. He finally found an opportunity to push Ling Daixin to Qin Yun's side. Yin Tianyi said in a low voice, "Great Elder Ling, Qin Yun is the enemy of the great divine king. If you give Ling Daixin to him, what will happen to her in the future?" My Ling family has always been clear about gratitude and grudges. So what if Qin Yun and the great divine king are enemies? But this doesn't prevent Dai Xian from being together with him. I can't do such a vicious thing like breaking up a loving couple. Great Elder Ling coldly snorted and said, "Do you think I want to? I just don't want Dai Xian to be unable to marry in the future. Furthermore, they are mutually in love." Qin Yun secretly cursed this Great Elder Ling in his heart. His mouth is full of nonsense. But this. Qin Yun is our enemy. Yin Tianyi is anxious. He is your enemy. Great Elder Ling said, as long as Qin Yun is responsible for Dixian, he is not our enemy. Ling Tai Yun shouted at Qin Yun. Qin Yun, Dixian will be yours from now on. Look after her a bit, don't let her run back to the Ling family. If our Ling family's married daughter runs back, she will most likely be bullied and humiliated. At that time, our Ling family will not let you off. Qin Yun cursed a few more times in his heart. How could he not know the wishful thinking of the Ling family? They want to place Ling Daixin by his side so that they can understand him better. The great Yin God tribe and the law enforcers have also thought of this point. After all, the Ling family can use a woman to exchange for a large amount of information on Qin Yun. How can you be so careless with such a big matter? Did your great Heaven tribe's emperor agree? Qin Yun also wanted to push Ling Daixin away. I, the great elder, am in charge of the Ling family's daughter's marriage. The emperor never cares about it, I have the final say. Great Elder Ling said, Qin Yun, Dixian is the #1 beauty of the 9-sun holy ground. You are lucky. How can she be the #1 beauty of the 9-sun holy ground? Yin Tianyi said unhappily, have you asked my son Yin God tribe? Have you asked the 9-sun dragon tribe and the 9-sun elf tribe? Great Elder Ling sneered. Your son Yin God tribe's woman is not as good looking as our Ling Taiyun. What are you shouting for? Everyone is speechless. The Sun Yin God tribe and the Great Heaven God tribe are actually quarreling. Just as they were quarreling, the huge volcano below suddenly shot out beams of fire. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.